Below a scorching sun, an arid desert stands, where a big fight seems to be taking place. Some desert warriors, who are wielding crude spears and swords, are standing in front of just one enemy, who thrusts his sword into the neck of one warrior, killing him instantly. This doesn't seem to be his first kill, as his breathing is ragged, and his enemies are calling him monstrous. How can he go for so long? Seeing him stumble on his feet and quiver though, they realize he is exhausted, so they all charge in for the kill. The man's heart feels like it's about to pop. Every time he exhales, he feels a sharp pain, and his gums ache from the sudden coldness. He can't even tell if what's dripping from him is blood or sweat. As the warriors charge him, all of his senses are saying one thing, that this is not some sort of graphic effect. A bunch of hidden traits activate in him as he takes out one more warrior, screaming out as the others charge him. As much as he doesn't want it to be true, this is reality. In the past, he used to play a lot of games, but he can't say he was an expert at any. He did not lead a wise life. He played games on weekdays, as everyone else worked hard. When he quit his job a few months ago, he holed up inside of his apartment and lived like a shut-in. That day, he realized he had been doing this since before he quit, so this must make it his 5th year. He spent 5 years on one single game. His life was legendary, in the worst way possible. The game he was playing was Pangea. It gained brief popularity 5 years ago, as the developer promoted it with the phrase, "If one clears the game, they will be granted one dream." Players with too much time on their hands got curious and tried it, but they all ultimately failed. 5 years passed, millions tried, but none succeeded. So the player count dropped, and now if he does not log in, it shows that the number of online players is 0. Pangea was infamous for its brutal difficulty when it launched. It had a boss that made anyone question if it was even meant to be cleared, a companion who would betray the player character without warning, and named NPCs who would hunt them down if they got a bounty. The worst part of all of this was that if the player character dies, they are permanently deleted. In other words, if the player dies, they have to start from the beginning, a truly insane premise. Because of its extreme difficulty, its brief popularity dwindled instantly. At this point, he thought that there was someone who was actively preventing players from clearing the game. He had a character loaded with 8 of the 15 known unique items, but he still failed, so 5 years of his life were wasted for nothing. However, even if his character is deleted, he is still granted 1,600,000 soul points, which are acquired when a character dies. He probably gained so much because of the unique items, as his characters up until now, who number in the hundreds, barely gave him 80,000 in total. This game has an SP system, and one is awarded SP corresponding to the value of their dead character. SP can be invested when creating a new character, and the more SP is invested, the gentler the growth curve. A character he once made by investing 10,000 into sword talent died with the title Grandmaster of Swordsmanship. The investment limit per talent is 10,000, but he just received almost 2 million, so he can pretty much invest in everything. Normally he would focus on the magic talent for a stable run. However, he clicks random, as he will never clear this anyway. This is his first and last time to properly enjoy it before he deletes it for good. Before he clicks through, a memory from the past pops up in his mind. One day, his girlfriend met up with him. She sat him down, noting that he was a good person, but she couldn't date someone with no future. She is at the age where she needs to think about marriage after all. In response, he couldn't really say anything. She continued on, noting that her friends are all dating or marrying guys working in big, well-known companies, but not him. Before she could finish, she looked at him, who was looking down in a defeated way. She couldn't bear to see him so pathetic, so she decided to leave right then, hoping that he had a nice life. But she really did not mean that. This happened 3 months ago. The girl he had been dating for 5 years broke up with him, and he didn't dare to pimp slap her. After she left, he quit his dead-end job in anger and locked himself in his room like this. His mouse hovers over the random button, noting that this is too much patheticness, and presses the button. Because he consumed so much SP at once, thousands of messages pop out, but one stands out, as a hidden piece has been revealed. The game congratulates him, as he has satisfied the singularity, and has been invited to Pangea. As he wonders if this game ever had a message like this, suddenly, he feels a drop in his chest, and a voice in his head, which is screaming out, "May all the worlds he created burn into ashes, as the wicked god he is." The man grips his head, trying to make sense of the voice in his head, but suddenly he falls down, and a message pops up on the screen. The being brighter than light, darker than darkness, the swirling in creation and destruction, may he find a place in the land of Pangea. Suddenly, the man wakes up with a whip on his back, and a man telling him to get up immediately. He turns back, noting that if he dares to fall one more time, he will feed him to the Hydreigon. The man has heard of this thing before, and as he looks around, he sees people around him in chains just like he is, and more people with whips, herding them around. Finally, he sees a mighty beast in the front, with multiple heads. He begins to quiver from fear, but the slaver whips him again, telling him to get back in the formation. or he will choke him out with this damn whip. Seeing as he has no other option, under the scorching sun, the man walks with the other slaves. He knows that Hydreigon is a monster from Pangea, and this place seems rather familiar too. Out of curiosity, he says status window, and something actually pops up, showing his stats, talent, and traits. He slowly realizes that he actually entered Pangea. This is real. It's an actual status window. However, why are his stats 12? Stats range from 1 to 10 depending on invested SP, so how is this possible? Additionally, what are these hidden traits that he is seeing? Before he can look at his stats more, the ground suddenly begins to quake, and the slavers realize what is happening as hundreds of men appear in front of them. They realize it's the army of the Desert Queen. Those bastards broke the non-aggression pact and attacked. They have to prepare for battle. They tell the slaves to stay sharp too. If they space out, even for a little while, they will certainly die. The man has heard this name before too, but he doesn't get much time to think about it as the system warns him that a main quest has been generated. It's simply titled, Survive, and rewards will vary according to outcome, while failure means both his physical body in-game and in reality will die. He doesn't even fully comprehend this before hundreds of arrows fall from the sky, slowly killing everyone all around him. As blood spills on his body, his mind is about to spiral into fear, but at the same time, the heart of the iron-blooded monarch's hidden trait activates. It's a linked trait that only appears when every physical talent is maxed out. It prevents exhaustion, reduces the chances of being caught off guard, and allows you to grasp the situation. He realizes, even with all this death around him, that if he stays here, he will die, so he has to move to survive. He grabs a sword and makes short work of his bindings, right as one of the desert warriors charges at him. He swiftly grabs the sword he cut his bindings with, and even though he has never wielded a sword before, he charges in and actually hits his opponent, taking him by complete surprise. This is because the hidden trait, Weapon Master, has been activated, allowing him incredible prowess with any weapon. 3 more warriors charge at the man. The first, wielding a spear, calls him a damn slave, but the man simply cuts off the tip of his spear, and him, all in one fell swoop. As he grabs the tip from the air, he thinks that even if he's using weapons for the very first time in his life, he can use them like an expert, proving it by throwing the spear right into the second guy. The third warrior charges in with a mighty battle axe, but the man dodges. He is capable of doing this because he can see the path of the enemy blade, allowing him to deflect it. Beyond that, he can see the path that he needs to follow too. He pierces his blade into the warrior before grabbing his axe and pummeling him with it. His breath becomes a little ragged because of all the effort he just put in, and the other warriors are both impressed and scared of him. They thought the entire expedition was unable to fight due to their injuries. No, due to the man's hidden trait, Masterful Hands. His weapon proficiencies will increase faster, so his sword proficiency goes to 6, and so does his spear proficiency. He thinks that the max proficiency level is 10, but he is already at 6, which means that he should be able to use it like a famous knight. How are these traits so powerful? Even the fact that he lasted this long at such a low level, this wouldn't have been possible without his hidden trait. But even that miracle will unfortunately not last forever. There are at least 500 troops gathered in front of him, and he has to actually survive. This quest is a bunch of crap. Before all of this, the leader of the desert city of Faisalmer asked the Snake Princess if the expedition to the demon world truly failed. She confirmed as such, and the leader noted that if it becomes known that their city did not participate in this expedition, the folks of the central continent will pin the blame for this failure on them. They must stop that no matter what. So she ordered the Snake Princess to go to the Kaltzman Desert and eliminate all of the stragglers of the expedition. They must erase all evidence that may prove that Faisalmer had not sent troops, and anything that may connect them to the failure of this expedition. She promised that if she performed this task well, the curse would be lifted from her. Hearing this, the Snake Princess twitched a bit and agreed. That is why she came with so many men, and why she is so determined. A warrior comes to her, making her think that they are all done, but he announces that there is still one slave who is holding on, confusing her. Around the man, hundreds of warrior bodies lay on the scorching sand. He would be extremely tired by this point, were it not for the fact that he just leveled up, restoring his mana, health, and fatigue. As the warriors prepare to attack again, the princess tells them to get out of her way as she rides in on her beast. The man expected her to arrive sooner or later. Isabella von Dergen. He checks out her status, but he can only see that she is level 8, as the other stats are hidden from him. He knows he cannot win against a level 8, no matter how many times he tries. Since the highest level in this place is 10, the standard that separates the strong is level 7. From that point upward, the real difference begins to be apparent, and the gap in levels can hardly ever be overturned. Level 8 means that they can almost be considered the strongest on all continents. Simply put, they are the level of bosses of any famous organization. Having to face her like this is practically a disaster encounter in an RPG. However, something grabs his eye, the system explaining that she cannot leave this area due to a status ailment from the Desert Queen. As he reads that, Isabella falls to his level and notes that he put up quite an interesting show, but he must die now. The man thinks that the reason he played Pangea, which was harshly criticized for its extreme difficulty, is that even for the hardest games, he would find a way to clear them, no matter the difficulty. He was basically a weirdo among weirdos, and if his guess is right, he can get out of here. As Isabella charges in, aiming her weapon squarely at his neck, he smiles and asks if she wishes to lift the Queen's curse. She immediately stops, her blade glowing with power. She approaches his face and looks him dead in the eyes, demanding to know who he is. The man explains that he read the stars and led people to them. He is the Starbearer, and he can help him lift the Queen's curse, so she can leave this desert. Isabella is shocked by this and looks down, making the man think it actually worked. Starbearer is an NPC class that a player needs to transcend the max level. The class is only available for NPCs naturally, so he is not a real Starbearer. But to remove the status ailment of the Queen's curse, she needs the blessing of the stars from a Starbearer. Since Isabella wants to escape from the curse, she would have to listen to him. The reason why he was certain that she'd like to escape from the Queen's curse is simple. Isabella is actually a character that he made. She was an unfortunate character, whom he had to neglect because he chose the wrong starting point. The Queen's curse is, from the player's perspective, a device to keep the player within the bounds of the map during the early game, but the player's character is made to see the end of this game. They are supposed to travel around the world to see the ending, but he left such a being in one place, and she'd been tied down due to the Queen's curse. Isabella asks for his name, and the man says Randolph, setting his name up. They both look at each other for a solid minute, before the woman notes that she will postpone killing him for now, but if she finds out that he is lying, she will take his life right then. As she walks away, she tells the warriors to escort him. He is an honored guest, so he will be treated with care. With this, the first main quest, Survival, is complete, and the results are record-breaking. The Constellation of Fortune smiles on him and improves his rewards. The Constellation of Battle notes that he is not bad, upgrading the reward again. He obtains the broken piece of the Olden Scale and the soul of Hydreigon, along with the sword of Michaela. Randolph falls to the ground as he gets all of this, clearly exhausted, but he somehow manages to survive. That night, as he takes a bath in the castle, Randolph looks at his stats and what he got. The soul of the Hydreigon is infamous for only dropping once ever in the entire history of the game, and a must-have item for the early game, the sword of Michaela. Both are unexpected rewards. This broken piece of the Golden Scale is weird though, as it allows for the synchronization between reality and Pangea, and he can turn it on and off. Before he can think about it more, 3 maids burst through the door, asking if they would allow them to bathe him. Randolph notes that they can wash just the feet, knowing that this is a test. They are Isabella's chambermaids. If he showed any type of reaction to them, she would get suspicious of him. Because the Starbearer does not react to any sexual desire, he tries to keep calm, but curiosity gets the better of him, and he looks where he really shouldn't. He immediately opens the status window to distract himself, and it does work, as he sees something else, a percentage of the breakdown of Pangea. As the breakdown draws near, the boundary between Pangea and reality shatters. When the breakdown goes over 10%, the first crack will appear. As he reads this, the system also announces that the Hall of Fame has been opened. He can leave his name in the hall depending on the points he earned, and the main quest survival quest ranking has been updated, with him at the top. Because of this, he unlocks the logout feature, but the system advises him to be careful of his character, as it will be vulnerable. His face widens as he reads all of this, confusing the chambermaids, as he thinks something like this shouldn't be possible. Gracia and I Love Mint Chocolate are 2 people he played the game with. He was wondering if they quit the game because they disappeared at one point, but they were summoned to this world like him, all along. Furthermore, this logout feature is exactly what he was looking for. He can actually leave this damned game. He tells the chambermaids to go, as it's time for him to communicate with the stars. They refuse, as the princess wanted them to treat him, but Randolph tells them that if he does not communicate with the stars, he will lose his powers. They should go and ask the princess if she wants that. He sends them away, noting that he will come to the princess after. As the doors close, he is really glad that this shabby excuse actually worked. He was scared that he would get stuck in this deadly place forever, but finally, he can get out of this stupid game. As he logs out, the system tells him that if his character dies, he will die in real life too. As he wakes up, he sees that the world is exactly as he left it, except that his city is in flames, and beasts have popped up. He looks out the window to see one right below him, which lets out a loud roar as it looks at him, its mouth twisting open. He saw this beast before. It's a monster from Pangea, but why is it here? Out of his pocket, he drops the golden piece that he got as a reward, which seems to have come back with him. Before all of this, as Randolph went back to the real world, all that he had done got transported into his body, and he woke up in his room. He thought that he'd just fallen asleep after playing the game for too long. That surely was it. This is not some web novel on the best manhwa channel known to man, right? That's when he saw a large pouch, presumably filled with coins, and that gold piece on his desk. He picked up the golden piece, wondering if this had always been in his room, but he couldn't remember owning something like this. He put the piece in his pocket and went to check on the game, but the webpage no longer existed, as if it had never there to begin with. Before he could think about what just happened, he heard screams coming from outside, and he looked out of his window, seeing all the destruction and death caused by the beasts of the game. The police were doing their best, calling in immediate backup, the damn military if they had to, as bullets did nothing. That's when he realized what happened and dropped the gold piece. He wonders if the boundary between reality and Pangea is broken, but more importantly, what does he do? As he retreats, his hand accidentally touches the golden piece. He thinks that if monsters from the game are roaming freely in reality, then maybe the things he obtained in the game can also be used here, right? He opens the pouch, and it wasn't actually filled with coins, but with Michaela's sword and Hydreigon's soul. He picks up the soul first, wondering how he uses it. That's when he remembers what he read. More specifically, the line at the end, that it's usable in the golden scale shop. There's no way for him in reality to fight these beasts, but the him from the game is different. He activates the soul, synchronizing himself with Randolph for 24 hours. Outside, only fire and smoke can be visible on the ground. Everything is in ruins, and a mother runs with her child throughout the chaos, hoping to bring her to safety. As the child asks where her father is, a bunch of concrete falls from above and crash down on them. Fortunately, the mother had enough time to save her child, but the same can't be said about her, as she took the full brunt of the concrete. She tells her daughter to go, and suddenly, an office lady shows up too, asking if she's all right. The mother tells her to take her child and go, and seeing that she is in a critical condition, the office woman apologizes and promises to protect her. Unfortunately, that's when the hungry beast pop up behind her and opens its wide jaws. As the office woman wonders if this is how she dies, someone crashes into the beast, decapitating it within a second before slashing it apart. The office woman falls to her knees, shocked that she actually survived. But who is this man? As he looks at them, she sees another coming from behind, and she warns him about it. But an entirely different beast takes care of it, making the woman even more afraid. She cannot comprehend what the being in front of her is. A dragon with 9 heads? Randolph tells her to stay still, making the woman wonder if she is dreaming or something. The child snaps from her grasp and goes to her mother, while other bystanders arrive with help. The office woman doesn't move, instead choosing to watch as the man and his beast clean out the remaining monstrosities. This event, where monsters appear, happened in the entire world, not just Korea. They immediately went after people and destroyed human civilization. However, they were not the only thing to appear. Along with them came the warriors, who cut the monsters down and are immune to bullets. More and more people pop out like this, protecting the innocents. And so, the world was rapidly changing. A man watches as all of this unfolds and is annoyed by the idiocy of his comrades. They are wasting their fragments of the broken order scale. It's now confirmed that reality and Pangea are beginning to merge. This is Massacre, another player. He thinks that these two realms might merge into one world over time, and in the coming age of chaos, everyone is a competitor. Those who obtain more fragments and more power will become the true protagonists of this era. The ranking that's remained unchanged for 2 years has finally been updated too, and the top score is an absurd 220 points. He wonders though, is this Randolph guy actually a phantom? Phantom, also known as Ghost. Since nobody knows of his real name, everyone refers to him by these two nicknames. He was the first person to form an NPC expedition, called the Demon Realm Expedition, and was the only one to reach it just before the game's final clears. Even though that expedition ended in complete failure, he was undoubtedly the #1 player of Pangea. Since the strongest character he possessed would be summoned upon death, he must have been summoned in Pangea the moment the expedition failed. Appearance and equipment should be reset, but talents from the previous character should carry over, which is why he has such a high score. As Randolph goes back to the game, he thinks that monsters have appeared in reality, and so have summoned players. They have taken on the form of their characters in Pangea. The situation in front of him is becoming clearer. With his last character, he nearly reached the game's ending with the Demon Realm Expedition. However, the hired NPC mercenaries hindered his progress, and even the friendly NPC companions betrayed them. No matter what possibilities he would have taken into account, their interference was always beyond expectation. However, what if all of those interfering variables were players summoned just like him? Players who did not wish for the ending to be reached, or players who considered him their rivals. He was targeted by people back then, and that might still be the case. If the boundary between reality and the game has officially collapsed, he cannot just hide after logging out. To secure his safety in both worlds, he must grow stronger quickly. He goes to Isabella's room, who asks if he has finished speaking with the stars, and he confirms that he has. He's come to keep his promise, with a condition. As she asks what it is, she sends her maids away. Randolph wants to go to the sanctuary, making Isabella wonder if he is insane. It seems that the second main quest is to obtain a class, and the class he wants can only be obtained there, as per the quest details. A little while late, under the same moon, Isabella walks around in a dark dungeon, having easily taken care of the guard there. Randolph is pretty impressed that it only took her a few minutes. There's probably no ally more reliable than she is. A few hours earlier, when he told her that he wanted to go to the sanctuary, as there was a star there, she was confused, as she didn't expect it to be in such a place. Randolph found the fourth star by chance while raising his previous character. He's probably the only player who knows its precise location. He told Isabella that to lift her curse with the blessing of the stars, he must obtain the star. Isabella made it known that the sanctuary isn't a place anyone can just waltz in as they own it. If anyone finds out she secretly brought someone in, it's over. Randolph rushed her, noting that there is no time, and to think carefully about what she wants, as this is her last chance to leave this arid place. If he had failed to persuade her back there, the thing rolling on the ground right now might have been his own head. But fortunately, that is not the case at all. He tells her that they have finally arrived. This is the holy ground he mentioned before, or at least the staircase to it. As they enter, the system notes that he has arrived in the hidden sanctuary of the desert, and rewards will be granted based on exploration rate. The system also warns him that he does not meet the recommended level, which is 8, and also that this area is overflowing with poison and demonic energy. If the demonic resistance is low, entry should now be made. Fortunately, he has the giant's demon resistance hidden trait, allowing him to enter. Under normal circumstances, a level 2 cannot hope to set foot in here. If he sends Isabella ahead and just clears the sanctuary exploration subquest, the rewards should still be pretty nice. But the subquest isn't what matters right now, because this is where he can finish the second main quest and obtain the certain class he desperately wants. Isabella watches the path around them, observing the wind that's pushing from below and the path's continuation, which is only a bunch of pillars. She tries not to laugh and turns around, noting that they must have taken the wrong path, but Randolph stops her, asking where she is going. Isabella explains that the bridge ahead is clearly a trap. The downward air currents are designed to sweep anyone away who crosses without knowing. Before she can continue, Rudolph asks if she really is scared, making her embarrassed. She tells him that she knows no such thing as fear. For the record, she is called the Snake Princess, alright? Randolph notes that she's surprisingly timid, but she doesn't think that's the case. The odds of this being a trap are just too high, and conveniently, she also got a cramp in her leg, so she just wants to check if there's a safer route. Hearing this, Randolph notes that it can't be helped, and crouches down, noting that she should get on her back. Isabella immediately becomes more embarrassed, as how does he dare to even insinuate such a thing? Randolph notes that she was the one who said she had a cramp, and there's no time, so she should get on already. When dawn breaks, and the dead warriors are discovered, she will be suspected of not being where she's supposed to be, and the Queen's pursuit team will be sent after her. So rather than wasting time on needless fear, he should carry her. Isabella relents and does climb on his back, but notes that if not for this leg cramp, she would never belittle herself like this. Rudolph agrees, and tells her to hold tight, immediately running towards the ravine in front of them. Isabella wonders where he is going, as that's the wrong direction. There is no path there. He still jumps into what seems to be an empty ravine. However, because of his mutant hidden trait, he can actually see the secret path that is invisible to the human eye. Isabella observes this too, and Randolph notes that this is the real path they need to follow. She is rather shocked, wondering how he knows a path when she, the second in command of Feiselmer, does not know. And in this sanctuary, that is overflowing with poison and demonic energy, he's not even gasping for breath. There are too many strange things happening to simply chalk it up to being a star-bearer. He turns his head to her, and notes that he did not know the second in command of Feiselmer had acrophobia, and she tells her to shut it. He's acting very relaxed in front of her. This is not just some confidence that comes from simple strength. It's as if he's welcoming an old friend that he has not seen in years. This makes her ask if they have met before, just as they take the final path. He explains that they've never met in the same place, meaning that he has seen her, but she has never seen him. Randolph touches a hidden mechanism, which transports them to a lush green land. This is a domain barrier, a barrier cast over the entire area. Only those who follow the designated path can see what is ahead, and if his memory is correct, they will have to fight soon. Sure enough, the calm mounds of rocks that were around began to wake up and scratch into humanoid-looking beings with a giant core in the middle of their chest. This time, the guardians are golems, and judging by the size of the rune in their chest, it's at least upper tier. At his current level, even a graze from it would mean instant death. He asks Isabella if her leg cramp is better now, and she notes that he keeps running his mouth. He should just shut it and watch. As the golems charge in, one throwing a shattering punch, Isabella just smiles, as she cuts the golem's fist into hundreds of pieces, noting that this will be over soon. She uses the stone pieces as a stairway, cutting one of the golems from the waist up as the others try to hit her. Randolph is amazed to think that she's an assassination specialized character, utterly ridiculous, even though she is a character he raised himself. Isabella takes care of the other golems too, cutting them up without much effort. With this done, Randolph is offered the Golem Maker class, meaning that it's recognizing her kill as his own. In Pangenia, summoner-type classes are rather rare, so the Golem Maker is actually a pretty good class, and in terms of class rank, it's a higher tier one. However, this is not the class he actually wants, so he declines. This is because the one who can give him that class is something else entirely. The once vibrant grass behind withers, and something malicious descends on them, as the ancient king, the master of this mountain that was buried by the nameless star, rages against them. This is the thing Randolph was waiting for, the greater god who guards the stars, the ancient king, Dramut. Randolph can feel an extreme pressure from him already, as expected of the mountain guardian of the sanctuary. Isabella hopes he didn't drag her here expecting her to deal with a literal mountain guardian, and Randolph tells her to relax. Despite how he looks, he's actually quite gentle. Just as he says that though, Dramut charges past him and right toward Isabella, who barely has any time to dodge, and Randolph looks at her with a little blush in his cheeks, clearly embarrassed that this was not the case. It's strange though, he remembers this oaf to be a friendly creature who helped guide the way. Isabella wonders how this thing looks any kind of friendly, and it even speaks, telling her that she must defeat it to prove her qualification, as she is the challenger. Isabella tries to tell him that's not the case, but Dramut already knows that she defeated her sentinels. As he attacks her with his tail, he explains that if she cannot prove her might, she will never leave this place. Isabella runs away and demands Randolph tell her what to do, since he's the star bearer. When he first cleared this place, he didn't have to defeat Dramut, or at least he thinks he didn't. Has something changed? That's when he realizes something. The ancient king Dramut. He is the mountain guardian who guards the star, a greater god with a gigantic body. According to his lore, he's an enchanted beast whose body grew and gained wisdom from the residual energy of the star. He cleared this place back when he was raising Wilhelm, a level 10 5-star transcendent character. When he came to the sanctuary with that character, Dramut obediently gave him the star. The reason? Because he was qualified. In short, if one is weaker than him, he attacks, but if they are stronger, he doesn't. So what does he do now? Suddenly, Isabella is pushed back roughly. Because of the sanctuary's poison, her body won't move properly. Perhaps just stepping into this place with the Starbearer's words was a mistake. Before Dramut can finish her off, Randolph tells him to stop, and he does so, his tail creating a whirlwind around Isabella. He turns his face to Randolph and demands to know how he knows his name. He smiles and explains that his master, Wilhelm, has returned. Dramut turns his full attention to the man and repeats what he just said, before letting out a very loud laugh. He is not even prepared to receive the star. He is weaker than even the golem sentinel. Him, of all beings? He should listen well, as Wilhelm was a powerful man, a perfect transcendent worthy of being his master, but he failed the demon realm expedition, and all his stars fell. It means he met a complete death. Even if he is gone, a lowly creature like him has no right to even speak his name. As he charges in, mouth wide to engulf Randolph, he demands that he honor the contract they made. This makes Dramut stop and demand to know how he knows about the existence of that contract. Nobody should be able to know about it. The contract states that the one who obtains the star of the mountain buried by the star learns the true name of the mountain guardian and becomes the new master of the mountain. The mountain guardian obeys the master's commands, and the contract's contents cannot be revealed to just anyone. If it is revealed, the one who breaks the contract will die from an instant curse. He only said it because he remembered the lore, and fortunately the game's rules still apply. As expected, since this is Randolph's body, the curse won't affect him. Dramut wants to know what manner of creature he is, and Randolph notes that if he's so curious, he should guide him. The star will prove him. Dramut tells him that the star does not know mercy to those without qualification. He will be lit from within if he approaches. Randolph says that perhaps it will be so, but is he afraid that the star will acknowledge him and reveal that he's his true master? Dramut would laugh if this were not so pathetic. He is a mere brat who looks like he would crumble from one swipe. What gives him such confidence? But very well, he will take him to the star, as requested. He doesn't believe he is Wilhelm, but seeing as he knows about the contract, killing him doesn't sit right with him either, so he would rather let the star get rid of him. They begin walking, and slithering to where the star is, and the sky darkens as they approach, eventually arriving at a very ominous altar, making Isabella wonder if it's really here. Randolph notes that the object that's placed on the altar, that skull, is the star. Isabella is surprised that such an object is a star, and Randolph tells her it's Leah's face. When Leah, the twin goddess of Pangenia, died, her body was split into 32 fragments and scattered all across the continent. Those 32 fragments of her body are what are referred to as stars. He thinks that they are used as boundary catalysts for players to achieve transcendence. Suddenly, the entire area around him bursts into a pillar of flame, making Isabella wonder if he is okay. Dramat laughs. If he wanted him, he would simply burn if he approached like that. Even though he was confident, the star rejected him. Now he will burn to death. Randolph has heard all of it, and can't believe this bastard. This star only kills a player on one scenario, when they acquire it by bug-skipping Dramat. No matter how messy the process may be, he did pass Dramat, so there should be no issue. The real problem is whether he can obtain the class he wants. He never tried it himself though, he only learned of it by accident. Suddenly, a voice from beyond begins reciting all of his traits one by one, until they get to the last one, the one who faces destruction. With that, the skull shatters with a glowing power, and Randolph begins to absorb it. His mana is converted into star energy. He acquires the Star Pierce main skill, and the Blessing of the Stars sub-skill. He also has +5 to all stats, and he will gain more power as the number and types of stars he possesses will increase. Even after Transcendence, the star effect will not disappear. He has acquired the class, Star Successor. Isabella's eyes remain wide as she watches all of this, and Randolph asks her, what does she wish to do once her curse is lifted? She explains that she wants to leave the desert and find the bloodline of the Derzhan family. Randolph explains that he will bless her so she can leave the desert under one condition. He wants her to serve him for just 1 year. After that, he will grant her freedom and help her find her family's bloodline. Isabella thinks that she's just under new management. However, Randolph pats her on the shoulder and notes that he is not the queen, and he does not lie. For some reason, Isabella feels inclined to trust him and bows down, vowing to serve him. Randolph tells her that she made a wise decision and turns his attention to Dramat, as the owner of the star is his master. Correct? Dramat agrees, and Randolph immediately tells him to bow down too. Because of his unique class, he is granted 230 points, which go into the Hall of Fame. The Constellation of Fortune upgrades his reward again, and the Constellation of Adventure applauds him for being so reckless, so his reward is updated. Almost immediately, the queen feels that Isabella has entered the sanctuary with the slaves she captured. She tells her men to seize them immediately, or not come back at all. The same day, at the Angel Cafe in the real world, two brothers talk it out with their guildmate, wondering if Randolph is Phantom. One of them thinks so, even if they ignore the main quest. Getting a higher class score than Gracia is impossible, unless someone knows the game inside and out. The blue brother notes that the 5-year veteran ghost player, Phantom, has finally appeared. This is certainly going to cause quite the ruckus, and the red brother wonders if they can contact him before others do. Their guildmate would like to know how, as they've searched for years, and never found him. The red brethren notes that it's because until now, Phantom wasn't an actual player, but since he is now, there must be a way. The blue brother wonders if they should try fishing, since the secret auction hall opens as a reward for the second main quest. Phantom will probably get to using it, right? The guildmate agrees that he will need tons of items if he wants to rank first for the third main quest. Fishing is a technique that can be done in the secret auction hall, where players can trade items. One uploads a high-quality item at a low price, and then uses a twin ability of a talisman to attack a location tracking ability to the buyer. Newbies who don't know any better see a nice item at a cheap price, buy it, get tracked, looted, and killed. The red brother wonders if something like that would work on someone like Phantom. If he really is who they think he is, he would know every talisman option in the game. The guildmate notes that he just might fall for it. After all, he failed, but he still initiated the Great Expedition. That kind of decisiveness is not normal at all. If he sees a nice, cheap item in the auction, he might just buy it. If one wants to challenge him, they can go ahead. But if he comes for them, they are dead. Anyway, they definitely need to meet up and invited him to their guild. Hearing this, the brothers are in the process of calling the cops to report a future stalker. Someone checks the ranking for the second quest. He sees that Randolph is ranked first, and that the second quest rights of Massacre have been revoked since he fell out of the ranking. Massacre wonders just what kind of class can give so many points. It seems like he won't be using the secret auction house for a while, but it doesn't really matter, because as long as he kills anyone in the top ranks, he will be rising right back up. Because he is riding Dramat, Randolph easily completes the Sanctuary Exploration subquest, which seems to have never been done before. So he is granted the achievement First Conqueror of a Sanctuary. This grants him the Epic Teleportation Book, which can teleport him to a previously explored location, It has a cast time of 30 seconds and can be used once a day. This is rather convenient. Riding on a snake isn't as uncomfortable as expected, and he can escape the sanctuary and finish the exploration. That will kill 2 birds with 1 stone. He also accumulates enough experience to level up to level 3 finally. It really is slower compared to regular characters, as the more talents one has, the more experience one needs. His required experience is probably 10 times the normal amount, but his stats grow more because of it, so he can't complain. Anyway, that's not what matters right now, as the item he got as a reward from the main quest is a lot more interesting. He got 2 extremely rare items actually. One of them is the Shadow Cloak. Activating its effect turns the wearer invisible. It's basically a portable stealth skill, which is not bad at all. Feeling movement up ahead, Dramit sharpens his senses and sees that intruders have entered the sanctuary, and he tells Randolph as such. Isabella guesses it's the Queen's pursuit squad, and Randolph does admit that they stayed in the sanctuary for a while. Isabella asks what he will do. The Queen herself won't be bothered to come, but the squad will have a sizable force. Even with the Mountain Guardian, they probably can't handle all of them. Randolph equips the cloak and notes that Dramit is the Guardian, so why would they fight? Isabella gets it, Randolph leaving Dramit to do his job, who is sweating a bit. As they hear the screams of the pursuers from behind, Isabella wonders if it's okay to just go. Randolph notes that since the Queen isn't coming, it will all be fine. There's no way the entire pursuit squad arrived at once. It's probably just the advance unit. If they get stalled until the main force arrives and they surround the entire sanctuary, they won't be able to get out of here. Those guys are after them anyway, so it's better to get out fast. Isabella thought he was abandoning Dramut because he was useless, but Randolph notes that the Mountain Guardian can't leave the sanctuary anyway, so only they can run. To get out of this place, they have to use the warp gate at the edge of the desert. He lifted Isabella's curse with the blessing of the stars, so actually using the warp gate won't be a problem. The real problem is that the gate requires a bit of time to activate. Isabella understands upon seeing the gate. Once they get past here, they are free. Randolph confirms as such. Once they pass this area, they will be out of this arid hellhole, but the gate will need some time to activate, around half a day. As she can clearly see, there is no real place to hide in this desert. It would be ideal if the entire pursuit squad went straight into the sanctuary, but most likely, they will track them. However, with Dramit delaying their approach, and until they realize they've left the sanctuary, they still have some time. During that time, he will have to communicate with the star. This place is important, but he needs to check what's happening in reality, so he can't stay logged in forever. He asks Isabella if he can trust her, and she pulls out her blades, noting that she will protect him. With that, Randolph logs out, waking up in his bed. He is still not used to that feeling when he switches from body to body. It makes him feel slimy for some reason. He picks up his phone and sees that there haven't been any news or warnings, meaning the monsters haven't appeared again just yet. Reality and Pangenia are merging bit by bit, that's for sure, but there is still a lot he does not know. There will be more monsters appearing soon, but the players who exist in reality concern him the most. He must return to reality periodically in order to gather more information. Suddenly, he gets a call from his ex, Kim Seo-yeon, inside the same cafe that she broke up with him in. She's in a call with someone else, who notes that he already bought her food and clothes. What's the issue? Her issue is that he flirted with her, saying he was rich, and now he's acting like a brookie. The guy wants to talk in person, but she has no reason to meet him, and she's also meeting a friend today, so she closes the call. Even though Myung was pathetic, at least he listened to her. She really should have held on a little longer and not broken up with him, but it's his fault for not having any money. Suddenly, he arrives. Seo-yeon surprised that he came earlier. Myung asks why she called him so urgently, and she notes that they should take their time to talk it over, so he should sit down. Maybe it's because it's been a while, but his entire vibe changed. Myung just tells her to speak already, as he needs to leave. She notes that some things never change. He always comes right away when she calls, even today. That's something she always liked about him. After they broke up, she realized how good he was, and she kept thinking about it and regretted it a lot. What about him? Doesn't he feel the same? Myung isn't even listening to her, as he sees that he needs to buy something if he wants to sit down, something she couldn't even do. He gets up, noting that if she's done, he's gonna go. Seo-yeon screams at him, asking if he heard that she actually missed him. Is this because of what she said when they broke up? Myung just asks one thing. Does her new boyfriend even know she's meeting with him right now? If she's going to flirt with multiple guys, she should at least delete her SNS pictures too, not just her profile photo. If she's trying to be a hoe, she should be trying harder. If this were the past, he would have panicked and not known what to say, but he is feeling strangely calm. Why is that? Perhaps Randolph's growth is affecting his real self too. Suddenly, he hears a commotion in the streets, someone harassing someone else as he wants to talk to her. The man, holding a cutter, asks why everyone stopped to look. Are they enjoying the show? The woman demands to be let go, calling him a crazy bastard. The man, having had enough of everyone looking down at him until the end, decides to take her life, but before the knife can descend on her, Myung intervenes, saving the girl. As that is more than enough, the man demands to be let go, but Myung continues gripping his hand, to the point that it's almost about to snap. Even though he hasn't used the fragment of the golden scale, he still feels like he could easily break this guy. It wasn't an illusion. His body is definitely changing. He throws the fat bastard aside and asks the woman if she is okay. She confirms as such, and notes that she survived thanks to him. She doesn't even know how to thank him. Myung takes a closer look at her and realizes that she's the woman he rescued from before. The woman asks if there's something on her face, and Myung denies it. She just resembles someone he knew. Suddenly, the fat bastard jumps at him from behind, knife still in hand, but Myung just dodges and grabs his head before punting him into the ground. The woman is impressed. She didn't have to be scared after all. After the police come and pick up the crazy fat bastard, the policemen tell Myung that he has to follow them to the station. The woman tries to explain to them that his person was just trying to help. She's the one who reported the stalker in the first place. Even so, the policemen note that what he did was still an act of violence, so he has to come with them. The woman tries to tell them that the bastard had an actual knife, and Myung notes that he really doesn't have the time to be doing this. The policemen understand, but they can't bend regulation either. Suddenly, the woman asks if he goes as a witness and gets dragged into something. Will they take responsibility? She introduces herself as Kim Hana, a CK broadcasting reporter, instead of harassing an innocent man. Perhaps they should speak with the actual victim, unless they want this case to blow up. The cops look at each other, and hearing that more people around them know of her, finally relent, noting that only she should come with them. Hana thanks Myung again, and gives him her card. She's a dedicated reporter, covering Dimension Warriors, the people who appeared on the same day as the monsters and defeated them. People started calling them Dimension Warriors. Myung guesses she means players, but unexpectedly, almost nobody mentions Pangaea directly. He guesses an interdimensional attack sounds more believable than a video game becoming real. As Hana asks for his business card, Seoyeon comes rushing in, grabbing his hand immediately. Hana asks if this is his girlfriend, and notes that she is absolutely not. But he doesn't have a business card, so how about his phone number? She notes that he has a nice name, and tells him to text her tomorrow, as she really needs to treat him to something. Myung notes that he won't refuse, and as Seoyeon stands there, defeated, she wonders how he could do this to her. Him, who is just a nobody loser she took pity on. As she leaves, Hana gets a call from someone calling her supreme authority of their broadcast station. She demands he not call her that, and he explains that he called because the deputy director went on a business trip and left her an assignment, an interview with Grancia. Hana is surprised. Isn't that the person who is treated like a saint who saved America? Why would she handle such a big shot? The assistant doesn't really know. The superhero herself said she wanted to see her specifically, and is coming to Korea as they speak. Inside of the game world, hundreds of bodies are laid across the desert, and Isabella breathes deeply, clearly winded because of all the fighting. One of the soldiers tells her that the queen herself commanded her to return. If she hands over that slave behind her, they can act as if this hadn't even happened. In response, Isabella grips her blade tighter, and the soldiers all charge her, knowing that she cannot stand for much longer. Suddenly, though, the warp point activates, and the first trip to the starting point is free. Randolph grabs Isabella and notes that she holds on well. She asks if he finished speaking with those needy stars, and he confirms as such. The soldier captain tells them to stop standing around and execute the traitors. Randolph puts his hand forward, noting that she kept his promise, and so, he will keep his as well. He closes his hand as he uses the Star Pierce skill, consuming all the star energy to unleash a powerful strike so bright that nobody can hope to stand against it. Isabella is surprised to see the power of a star bearer, and Randolph notes that it's not too late. If she wishes to return, he won't stop her. Isabella refuses and smiles, as she will stay with him. With this, the curse put on her is nullified, and they warp to the central continent, Arcana, the Golden City. This is a city where materialism has reached its peak. Without wealth equivalent to a high-ranking noble, the deeper districts are dangerous. Isabella notes that this is all quite extravagant, and Randolph notes that it's the Golden City after all. Everything here can be resolved with enough money, but first, they must gather some funds. Isabella tells him to not worry about gold, as she brought 300 gold coins with her. Randolph notes that this is nowhere near enough. That will do for a one night of lodging, probably. She's shocked, as in the desert, 300 gold coins could buy 10 slaves. That's 10 times the price of a cleric. Randolph laughs and notes that the prices here are much different from those in the Kaltzman Desert. However, she shouldn't worry too much, as there's money lying around all over the place. She asks what he could be talking about, and Randolph points to a casino, making her stare in awe. She shouldn't worry about their chances of winning either, as he is rather lucky, because of his blessing of gold trait. The Golden City, Arcana, is also known as the City of Pleasures. In Pangaea, Every lower city operates as an independent monarchy, and here, in this city of pleasure, there is only one law: money is king. The place where all of the city's wealth gathers is the Hudson Casino, one of the most reputable and rich casinos in the entire continent. The guard in front of the casino stops Randolph and Isabella, noting that anyone without the 10,000 deposit may not enter. Isabella is surprised and whispers to Randolph, wondering why he didn't tell her there was a deposit, as she only has 100 gold left after washing up and buying clothes. Randolph notes that it doesn't matter since they didn't have enough money in the first place, and the clothes were necessary. The guard tells them that if they lack the deposit, they should leave, as they are disturbing the other customers who are waiting in line. Randolph tells him that he doesn't have a deposit, but he would like to leave this as collateral instead. It should be more than enough, right? This is the Fairy Queen's tear, which allows an item of equipment to break past its limit. Even if the unbound equipment is destroyed, the tear will still stand. Immediately, the guard treats them both as a VIP, and Isabella asks what that item was as they go inside. Randolph tells her it's basically a talisman. It was one of the rewards he got when he visited the sanctuary, and it's worth at least 1 million gold. Isabella asks if it's okay to leave something like that with them, but Randolph tells her not to worry. Once he wins money, he can buy that thing back, and then some. He's not here just to gamble after all. One of the first games Randolph goes to is the roulette, and the dealer simply cannot believe him. Who is he? Perhaps the god of gambling, who has descended to Earth. He started with only 1,000 gold, and he already surpassed 1 million. Randolph expected this because of the blessing of gold. When money is on the line, there is no better trait to have. Isabella notes that they are rich now, even though Randolph thinks this is his money. The dealer looks completely defeated, and explains that naturally, he will be given all of his winnings. However, he is now banned from entering the Hudson Casino. Randolph is surprised it was that fast, but the dealer explains that every customer who copies his bets keeps sweeping the chips clean. It's becoming an issue. That is why they are asking him to leave the premises. But they can do it roughly too, if that is not possible. Isabella looks at the guards who encircle her with bloodlust, but Randolph signals her to wait, and notes that he will leave only after speaking with the owner of this place. The dealer explains that this is not possible, and that he should leave quietly, but Randolph believes he is misunderstanding something. It's not him who wants a meeting, but rather his boss. The boss is using a level 8 hand of observation on the tear, confirming that it's the thing. He wonders how anyone got a hold of this. The Fairy Queen's tear is carried only by the Fairy Queen's knights, and fairies rarely leave their realm. Moreover, a Fairy Queen knight is so powerful that even killing one requires at least 3 people who have reached level 10, making it almost impossible to obtain. They searched high and low, but nobody sold them to think one would just walk into their casino like that. The butler comes to Hudson's office and explains that the man who left the talisman as collateral wants to meet him. Hudson is surprised, but then smiles, telling the dealer to bring him here and some tea. After a few more minutes, Randolph is sat down in front of him, accompanied by Isabella. Hudson is surprised by the visage of the man in front of him. He does not look like a strong fighter at all. Hudson notes that he said that he would like to speak with him. Would he care to elaborate? Randolph picks up the cup of tea and says that there was no hidden meaning. He knew he would want to meet him, so he told him to pass on that message. He needs the talisman he used as a deposit after all, right? Hudson is shocked, but calms himself down, stating that he knows that he collects rare talismans. He is right. He was about to call him to negotiate a price for it anyway. Randolph takes a sip and explains that as long as the price is right, he has no reason to refuse. Hudson is glad that he is so forward and gives out the price of 2 million gold. He considers this a rather generous offer. Isabella is surprised by this offer, but Randolph just puts his cup down and demands 20 million gold. Hudson notes that 20 million is enough to buy a mansion in the center of Arcana, no matter how rare. A talisman is only used for reforging weapons. Does he truly believe it's worth that much? Randolph says that he would never pay that, but he expects him to. Hudson explains that even he cannot pay that amount for just a hobby item. Randolph agrees. If it were only a hobby item, nothing could justify that price. But the Fairy Queen's tear is not just a mere talisman for him. It is something he must have to enter the city council. He goes further, explaining that the minimum qualification for joining the council is to achieve level 10. However, to reach that level, one must break through with one's own strength. For someone like him, who does not have a combat class, that will be an impossible task. Thus, he needs the item that removes the minimum equipment requirement, the Fairy Queen's tear. With it, he can equip higher tier gear to compensate for his combat stats. As for the reason a merchant who only runs a casino would want to enter the city council, it's in order to be acknowledged by the family of his fiancée, Serengeti, right? Hudson's eyes close in on Randolph's, who seems just as stern as before. Serengeti is the only daughter of Marquis Weiser from the Balran Kingdom. Known as the Pure White Knight, she led 500 knights during the Demon World Great Expedition with him. She sacrificed both of her legs to the Demon King to save his life. She was his right hand, one of the few NPCs he could trust. Back then, she thought of her actions as nothing but a dramatic event to spice up the story, because before he came to this world, Pangania was nothing but a game. However, after the death of Wilhelm, awakening here, and experiencing what he experienced, he realized the NPCs might actually be players. Serengeti's old words came back into his mind. If she did not return from this expedition, she wanted him to deliver this for him, a necklace with her lover inside. He was rather confused when he read the description, because based on everything he knew about Serengeti's character, she never had a fiancé. Someone influenced the preset character parameters. The reason he accepted it so naturally is that Hudson is a player just like him, someone who assimilated into this world. Now, he notes that he never told anyone about this. So how does he know? Randolph thinks that he likely arrived in this world long before he did. He needs to extract as much information from him about the world and about the other players as possible. He explains that he didn't know, he just heard it, as the stars told him. Hudson asks if he is saying that he is an actual star-bearer, and Randolph states that he is not asking him to just believe him, but he can give him what he wants. He doesn't need his money, he just needs to accept one simple condition. The stars wish to hear the story of his life. Only then will he decide whether to help. However, all of it must be true, as the stars do not like liars. Hudson's hand quivers on his knee as he hears this, and Randolph thinks that this would be a difficult decision, as a star-bearer is not someone who is commonly found among NPCs, and revealing one's personal information could expose him to hunters. The hunters are NPCs who specialize in hunting players. They call players criminals, and execute them upon discovery. Players have died countless times at their hands, as their methods of infiltration vary so widely that the only defense is to be suspicious of everyone. Revealing personal info in Pangania is basically a death sentence, so most players hide their identities. This is why players are difficult to distinguish, and he has no intention of revealing himself either. Even so, he is sure that Hudson will accept this offer, because to him, Serengeti is not just some random NPC. She is more than that. She is the only love he ever knew. He agrees. He will share the story of his life, but before that, he must begin with Serengeti. Most things he wants to achieve are tied to her. Serengeti was a brave knight who participated in the great expedition to the demon world, led by the heroes. Randolph is extremely confused by this, and asks what this is about the 8 heroes. Wilhelm was the one who led the expedition, right? Hudson notes that Wilhelm was indeed the most famous, but the great expedition to the demon world was conducted by all 8 heroes together. There was infighting amongst them, which led to the failure of said expedition, or so the stories go. Randolph thinks that a bunch of nonsense, and asks if he knows who these 8 heroes are. Hudson is more surprised he doesn't, since they are all legendary figures. One of them is the strongest after Wilhelm, Grancia. He seems to be reading an article by Kim Hana about the time she was saved, and his assistant notes that she's scheduled their interview with the Korean reporter he mentioned. The assistant also wonders if it really is necessary for him to go to Korea himself. If he'd like, they could bring her here, as the government wants him to remain in the US, since they never know when another attack might happen. Grancia refuses. He must see for himself, because he has a feeling that this man might be the friend he has been searching for all this time. In the real world, Myung looks at his piece of steak like it's his last meal, and Hana asks if it doesn't suit his taste. He says it's not that. Something happened yesterday, so he's tired. He did tell Hudson to talk about his life, and he actually stayed up all night crying and rambling, but he did get some information about those guys called the 8 heroes. In the end, he stayed up all night while logged in yesterday. He asks Hana if this place is not expensive. He doesn't know if it's okay for him to eat for free like this. Hana notes that he got rid of her stalker, but even this is not enough. Myung notes it's just something anyone would have done, but she doesn't believe that. It's someone only as brave as he could be. She peeks over him, as that woman in the back. Isn't she the person who was with him back then? She keeps glancing over toward their direction. Myung thinks she's trying to make this a coincidence, and the guy she's with looks like the man who was on her social media, the one he mentioned before. Was his name Young Jinwoo or something? Hana notes that if it's making him uncomfortable, they can move to another table, but Myung says it's fine. She doesn't have to worry about her, as they don't have that kind of relationship. Just as he's about to continue eating, Jinwoo comes around and asks if he really followed Seoyeon all the way here. Not only did he keep pestering her after they broke up, but now he's resorted to stalking her? Myung turns to him and asks if he's actually serious, and he seems to be. He heard that the last time he clung to Seoyeon, crying and begging, and dragged her out of the cafe. Myung doesn't think it went exactly like that, but as he looks at Seoyeon's smug look, he understands that Jinwoo trusted the words of a woman, a rookie mistake. He tells Myung that if he follows her one more time, he will actually kill him, as the useless piece of trash he is. Hana slams the table, noting that the more she listens to this drivel, the more ridiculous it gets. Why is he just saying whatever the hell he wants? Jinwoo wonders who this woman is. Some rent-a-girlfriend or something? Hana goes up to him, But he continues, noting that judging by her looks, she must be getting paid 500,000 won. He will pay her double if she just shuts up. Hana tells him that she made the reservation to this restaurant and she's treating him because he helped her, not because it concerns him. In response, Jinwoo pulls out a stack of cash and wonders if it's not enough. Was it 1, perhaps 2 million won? Since she can pick up the money by herself, can she go somewhere else? In response, Hana slaps the shit out of him and calls him a bastard. Jinwoo is really angry now and notes that she hit him first. Equal rights means equal fights. Just as he's about to hit her though, Myung just trips him and notes that he doesn't look innocent either. Jingwoo turns around in anger, but Myung presses his head down, putting him to the ground. Seo-yeon screams at Jinwoo as he's embarrassing her, and Myung tells him that they should go outside and finish this. He doesn't want to get beaten up in front of everyone, right? Jinwoo's ego gets to him, as he cannot let a nobody beat him up in front of his woman, so he activates a golden shard, which blinds Myung temporarily, as Jinwoo transforms into his in-game avatar. Immediately, he slams Myung into the ground. He really didn't expect him to be a player, but why is he acting like nothing happened? He definitely saw him to transform, so what happened? Did he put him down gently? The hidden trait, Great Sage, activates, and Jinwoo notes that he let his guard down for 1 second, and he thought he was something. Myung can see that he's level 4 and a spearman. Panginia's level system ranges from 1 to 10. Each section has a gap in the experience required to level up. Also, the additional experience required depends on how many talents a player has. Therefore, one's character becomes stronger the more talents they own, but leveling will be slower. Naturally, Jinwoo belongs to the group with far fewer talents. Even so, the reason Jinwoo's level is low is quite simple. He has never fought, not even once. Jinwoo was a beginner gamer, and had been running away non-stop from the first day he was synchronized with Panginia until now. After a few strokes of luck, he survived the main quest, and then, with another stroke of luck, he obtained what was considered a high-tier class. As a reward for placing in the top ranks, he was able to log out and never return to Panginia again. Ming can tell without even seeing it that not everyone would have started like him with the traits. It wouldn't have been easy to adapt, so he can't blame him for running, although he's still a weakling. Seo-yeon clutches his hand tightly and notes that they should go, as people are staring. Before they leave though, Jinwoo tells him to consider himself lucky that he is alive thanks to this woman, but if he ever clings to her again, he will feel his full wrath. Myung can't believe how stupid he is. He's showing random people that he's a player, and he's even wasting the golden scale like it's nothing. He will not last long, fortunately. Hana crouches down to Myung's level and notes that they should report this immediately, but Myung wants to let it go, as they threw the first punch too, so they should just finish eating. As soon as he says that though, the ground begins to rumble, and sure enough, a bunch of monsters appear throughout the restaurant, aiming to destroy everything around. Hana thinks that they have to run, but Myung shuts her up a bit, as the monsters are not attacking anyone. Myung thinks that the people here got lucky. Only some cheed worms showed up. At most, they are the kind that just scavenge. If they don't attack first, that thing shouldn't appear. Unfortunately, Jinwoo, who is trying to act cool in front of his hoe-ass girlfriend, summons a spear and prepares to take a worm down. Myung screams at him to stop, but it's too late, as he takes out the worm in one hit. This makes the dumbass think that he's stronger than he thought, so he begins taking out worm after worm, thinking that he was scared for nothing. This is way too easy. Meanwhile, Myung tells Hana to run away from this bastard, as far away as she can. Suddenly, a bunch of fog begins to permeate throughout the restaurant, blocking Jinwoo's vision. At the same time, dark hands appear from behind and cover his eyes, the being who did this demanding to know who killed its children. This is the Cheed Mamba, an elite monster with a recommended size of 20 level 6 people. The Dark Mamba seems to crawl into Jinwoo's mind, demanding that he kill everyone here. A random man begins coughing, the miasma too much for his lungs to take, but as he looks up, he sees Jinwoo bearing a spear towards him. In Jinwoo's eyes, the man looks just like a monster, because of the Cheed Worm's blood. The spear descends on the confused man, and blood splatters all around, but not from the man, from Jinwoo, as Myung cut both of his arms off. He slowly realizes this and begins wailing on the ground, Myung noting that he didn't want to step in at first, but they cross the damn line. Now transformed as Randolph, he tells the Mamba to come out, as he will not ask twice. The Mamba responds to his summons, slowly emerging from a bunch of cheeds as it laughs, letting out a primal roar as it fully appears. The beast says he's not bad. From all the humans here, he looks the most delicious. Inside of the mist, Hana calls out for Myung, asking to know where he is, but the miasma is far too thick, and she can't see a thing. Myung continues to fight the Mamba, thinking that thanks to the fog blocking everyone's vision, he was able to transform, but just because he did so, doesn't mean it's an opponent that he can handle with ease. If he didn't know its attack patterns, he'd become a flesh glob from the beginning. The Mamba finds him strange. His physical abilities are clearly not that outstanding, so how is he dodging all of its attacks? He is moving like he knows where it will attack. Myung rushes in, blade at the ready, but the Mamba finds his struggle useless and not worth even attempting. Myung jumps high in the air as a bunch of cheeds pop up, knowing that he has to dodge the next pattern, which is the blood splatter. He grabs a nearby table and shields himself, because if that touches him, he will be inflicted with a status ailment. After the attack is finished, the table is broken by a tentacle, which he barely has enough time to dodge. As he huffs from exhaustion, the Mamba admits that he didn't think he would dodge that. He has an astonishing evasion ability. However, at the end of the day, if his attacks cannot reach him, what is his dodging going to do? Myung tells him not to worry about it, as he will be driving this through the middle of his forehead soon. He equips Hermes' shoes, the Fairy Queen's tier allowing him to actually wear them without much stat difference. He also equips Michaela's armor and Michaela's helmet, almost a full set of armor, at almost full stats. He thinks it's a good thing he bought this in advance at the secret auction, and apologizes to Hudson. He was going to avoid using the Fairy Queen's tear unless he absolutely had to, and that time is now. Hermes' shoes give him 3 agility, and the swiftness ability, allowing him to dash with extreme speed toward the Mamba. He reacts, sending a tentacle towards Myung, but he steps aside, and then charges once again, like he's never been stopped in the first place. He moves so fast that he ends up right behind the Mamba, causing the beast to protrude a bunch of sharp projectiles that fly off from his body at high speeds. Even so, Myung strikes all of them away, his focus entirely on the battle, but the Mamba uses one of its tentacles to take him by surprise, smashing him so hard that he is sent flying. However, thanks to Michaela's set option, he can grow out a pair of wings, stopping his descent. The Mamba is becoming annoyed with his many options, and decides to spew out a bunch of darker blood, clearly something he cannot be hit by. Myung recognizes this as his final pattern. If he can endure this, then he can win. He flies as fast as he can, but the torrent of blood eventually catches up to him and begins to engulf his very being. Suddenly, though, that torrent of blood begins to spurt out, using the celestial dragonborn and swiftness to create a synergy. Myung has triggered a gale of wind, sending the blood backwards. The Cheed Mamba has 4 skill patterns: dodge, blood spatter, needles, and poisonous blood. After it uses all of those things, the Mamba falls into confusion for just a moment. The beast becomes unable to act, but once the concussion wears off, the next cycle begins again with enhanced skill patterns. Myung charges in, even if tired, knowing that this is his only chance to win, and the Mamba tells him to wait, but he drives his blade into his head without a thought of stopping, killing the beast at that very moment. With the elimination of the Cheed Mamba, Myung gains 100% contribution. The darkness recedes for now, and he obtains the lucky dice. Hana looks around, thinking that it's over. But what the hell happened for it to be over? Just then, her eyes lock on the man who did all of this. Even if he is wearing armor and has just put on a white cloak, she recognizes him as the man from back then. She brings attention to herself, asking if he remembers her. Myung looks in her direction, glad to see her safe, and activates the invisibility cloak, making him seemingly phase out of reality, just as Hana tells him to wait a moment. Seeing him disappear, and the monster that is beginning to dissipate into a dark cloud, she knows that he is really gone. A few short moments after this encounter, Myung appears behind her, glad to finally have found her after getting separated in all that chaos. He asks if she's hurt anywhere, and she confirms that she's fine, but suddenly, as Myung notes that he's relieved to see her safe and sound, she spots some blood on his hand. She points at it, and asks if he's hurt. Myung makes an excuse, noting that he just got some monster blood splashed on him, and thinks that he didn't even notice this variable. Hana is a bit suspicious. His clothes are perfectly fine, but only his hands have blood. Isn't that unusual? When the first monsters appeared too, he was incredibly calm. Could it be that he knew what that was? Myung stays silent for a moment, and then plays it off, noting that everything was hectic, so he thinks he just said whatever was on his mind at the time. Hana calls him a liar immediately, as he was totally composed, but with the straightest face known to man. Myung tells her that he was really scared too. Hana finds him incredibly sussy, acting like it's nothing, and showing up right after the man who saved her disappeared. Could it be that they are the same person? The next day, a bunch of Dimension Warriors watch a very important broadcast in an undisclosed location. Not many days after the first Dimension War occurred, another Dimension War happened again. Some Dimension Warriors members warned that these attacks would continue in the future, and expressed the opinion that an extended, ongoing cooperation with the government would be needed. As country citizens stayed indoors out of anxiety, the streets became extremely empty. In response, these citizens voiced this faction, saying that the government's complacent response, claiming there won't be a tragedy like the last incident again, and the government's artificial downplaying of the scale of the damage, may have led to a large number of secondary victims from the Second Dimension War. One of the players notes that they were so carefree during the first invasion, and now they are just making a fuss. Another notes that back then, people who weren't directly affected probably couldn't feel it. A monster attack is something that's totally out of common sense after all. Another woman notes that it was something beyond common sense. Nobody knew how to respond, so the government probably tried to maintain a normal state at first. However, one of them, Park Tae-woo, notes that with this incident, everyone should have realized that the invasion can happen again and again. Right now, this is the perfect time for them to declare the official launch of their alliance. The other alliances are probably thinking the same thing, so they need to hurry and recruit talent. The woman next to him knows that they are already checking the footage he mentioned earlier. It's CCTV footage, so it's hard to see clearly. But if he really killed this Cheed Mamba alone, this man might be Randolph, the one who took the first place in the new main quest. Another one notes that, didn't they just say that Randolph just cleared main quest 2? Then he'd only be at most level 4 or 5. So how did he equip Hermes' shoes? Tae-woo thinks it's highly possible that he used some kind of talisman. The details aside, it's certain he is someone they need. And after the Phantom disappeared, this man appeared. They cannot say for sure, but it's possible that Randolph is Phantom. They cannot trust the other player alliances no matter what happens. They have to bring him over to stop the incoming rift. In the game world, Randolph tells Hudson that he actually used the Fairy Queen's tear, which he does so nonchalantly, while Hudson screams in his face asking, why did he do that? Wasn't he going to give it to him? Randolph actually said that he would help him. He never said he would actually give the tear to him. He doesn't need a talisman to reach his goal. He just got rid of it so he wouldn't cling to a pointless hope. He thinks that there's no way he will admit he used it because he needed to defeat the Cheed Mamba, as that would probably expose him. Hudson asks if he's saying there's another way, and Randolph tells him to calm down with the distrust. He should just follow him, as he will give him a reason to trust him soon enough. With that, they all go to the underground dungeon, the sewers. Hudson doesn't understand. Why are they walking through some stinky sewers? What could possibly be in this place? Randolph explains that he brought him here to wash away his distrust, and also because they have to go to that place that will grant his wish. He wanted to create a waypoint in Arcana. The teleportation book he got from Dramood is convenient, but it's annoying that he has to raise the exploration rate every time. He wanted to explore all of Arcana, but that's impossible with the time he has, so he will be satisfied with just the sewer dungeons. Hudson tells him to wait. Are they really going to explore the sewer dungeons just with the 3 of them? That's far too dangerous. The boss monster that lives here is a monster rat. It's a dungeon raid boss that needs at least 6 people of level 8. As said, the rat appears. Randolph just looks behind him and notes that he knows. This is the mutant monster rat, a threatening raid boss who, immediately upon seeing them, springs into action, launching itself again and again, becoming just a beam of green light. Hudson is extremely afraid. The monster rat is a monster that attacks using its speed as a weapon. Normally, the standard method is for 6 to form a formation and slowly corner it and hunt it down. But they came here with no preparation at all. What is this guy thinking? Doing something so reckless? Randolph doesn't even move. He calls for Isabella and tells her to go to 10 o'clock. She immediately rushes in on the rat, who is confused to see that he is getting pummeled again and again. Randolph thinks that if one knows its pattern, it doesn't matter how fast it is. Of course, that's only possible because Isabella is a character whose combat proficiency has been raised to a point where she is on a completely different level from an ordinary character. As Hudson watches, Randolph calls for him and notes that he will keep the promise he made to him no matter what. He should never doubt him. If he said it can be done, then it will be done. Later that day, someone comes to another member of the Hero Alliance and tells him that he checked all the nearby CCTV footage, but there is absolutely no trace. It looks like everyone who was inside the building at the time said they don't know anything either. Jiang is getting increasingly annoyed, as this is like a ghost story or something. His subordinate asks if they should go and meet with Jin Woo again, but he denies it as such. He looked like he'd completely lost it. He went insane from the shock of having both of his arms cut off. So going back again would just be a waste of time for both of them. The subordinate wonders about Kim Hana then. Didn't it seem like she knew something? Jiang asks if they should just go and storm the broadcasting station she works at, but that's not what the subordinate meant. Wouldn't it be better to just wait for her outside? Jiang tells him that he does not want to mess with her, as it will turn into a huge headache. The subordinate wonders if she has some backing or something. So Jiang tells him that Gracia is protecting Kim Hana, and because of that, all the players in Korea are in an uproar. He even heard that the person is doing a direct one-on-one interview with Kim Hana. Sure enough, they eventually meet Gracia, introducing themselves, Hana noting that's an honor to finally meet him. The subordinate wonders if he fell for her at first sight or something, but Jiang doesn't know. Anyway, they shouldn't go poking around the beehive for no reason. He thinks that, With a phantom gun, Gracia is now the undisputed strongest player yet. That kind of monster came all the way to Korea just to interview with an ordinary reporter. Honestly, he is very curious too. But if Gracia is involved, the right move is to stay as far away as possible. If they even rub him the wrong way, the alliance itself could just get crushed. Somewhere else, Massacre is dealing with some players, with one of them who is still alive, asking what the hell he thinks he's doing. Player PK is supposed to be forbidden in the real world. Massacre asks who decided that, and the player notes that Gracia said that to prepare for the invasion. PK between players is forbidden in the real world. If Gracia finds out, he is done for. Massacre grabs his head roughly and tells him to ask his savior to save him right now. But wait, he can't. After he deals with him, the rankings have been updated. He has been registered in the top rankers for obtaining a class, so now he has the right to the secret auction house once again. As he undresses from his battle clothes, he thinks that Randolph is definitely that phantom bastard. If it isn't, then there's no way to explain the score he's built up. If it is him, he will challenge the main quest immediately without hesitation. If he waits in that place, he will meet him soon enough, and then he will kill him with his own 2 hands. In the game world, Randolph rides through the desert with the High Dragon, which looks quite different from before. Randolph thinks that he got lucky. His original goal was just to register a waypoint in the sewers dungeon, but from that fast rat, he got its core, which could be used to strengthen beast-type souls. With that, he used it to evolve the High Dragon. He asks Hudson, who is riding with them, if he took care of things at the casino properly, and he confirms as such. As instructed, everything has been done. It's true the casino is ashamed to give up, but it cannot be helped if they have to be away for such a long time. If it's for marrying Serengeti, it's not even worth worrying about. Besides, there's no way people here would leave the casino alone if he's not there. He's decided to trust and follow him. Hudson also thinks that, while the woman named Isabella hunted the monster, let alone is impressive, the way she acts as if she can see through everything is no doubt thanks to Randolph. He is an extraordinary man. If he misses this chance, he doesn't know when he'll ever get an opportunity like this again. Randolph is glad he saw reason with this. He won't have to worry about money anymore. He thinks that he made a good decision. Now he can focus solely on reaching level 10 and walking the path of the Starbearer. Hudson also wonders where they are headed now, as he doesn't recall ever telling him. Randolph notes that they are going to the masterpiece that will grant his request, and the place where the main quest 3 begins. They are going to the Tower of Spirits. They make their way to that place, but it just seems like a random forest, which Hudson does note as such. Randolph tells him it's not an ordinary forest though. This is the entrance to the Tower of Spirits, the vast rock forest where the spirit tree grows. He thinks that a spirit tree is a tree where spirits are born. A tree where spirits are born temporarily has the power to open a path to the spirit realm, and entering that path at dusk is the only way one can head towards the Tower of Spirits. However, the tree in front of him has already been dead for a long time. Not just this tree, but the entire forest is dying. It's been quite a long time since a new spirit was born in this forest. It is not a good method that he's about to do, but they have no choice. Hudson asks what he is trying to do, and Randolph suddenly charges in, cutting that tree in half. It fell to the ground roughly. Hudson wonders if it's really okay to cut something down like that, as that tree should be sacred or something. But as he says that, a strike as fast as lightning is thrown towards him, threatening to take his life. Though Isabella covers for him, although it causes her hand to bleed quite a bit. The man who shot this blast did not expect her to actually block it. For a human woman, she is quite something. This is the High Dryad, the master of Bass Rock Forest, a level 9 character. The Dryad notes that he thought they were just wandering travelers who had gotten lost, so he was going to show them mercy and let them pass through, but they dare to cut down the spirit tree. It seems that humanity has lost its fear of things outside of its comprehension, huh? They are surrounded by forest guardian dryads, which are all level 7. Isabella looks at them and thinks that there are at least 50. If that many rush them all at once, they have no choice. In the worst case scenario, she has to make sure the Starbearer escapes. Randolph calmly walks toward them and notes that they shouldn't take their anger out on the wrong person, when he was the one who cut the tree down. If he hadn't done this, he wouldn't have shown himself until the very end, right? The High Dryad thinks that he is insane, but Randolph tells him to calm down, as he wants to talk with him. The High Dryad refuses and prepares to throw another arrow in his direction, but Randolph asks if he is just going to stand by as the forest dies, making his hand quiver. Randolph explains that he will bring this dying forest back to life. He doesn't see a single spirit in this forest that could breathe new life into it. If no new spirit is born like this, he should know better than anyone that the entire forest will die soon enough. If he opens the gate to the Tower of Spirits, then he will give this forest a spirit. The High Dryad calls this a bluff. Even if they open the gate, the Tower of Spirits is a place only the chosen can enter. Is he saying a mere wretch like him can enter their sacred tower? Randolph thinks that it's impossible to enter the Tower of Spirits in the first place. One needs the relevant talent and to complete countless quests. After waiting for several strokes of coincidence to line up, only then can one break through the atrocious odds and enter. Among gamers, the number of people who have entered this place can be counted on one hand alone. With Randolph's current level, entering is something he could never dream of. Of course, that only applies if Randolph were an ordinary character, but he has the druid nature affinity hidden trait. He exclaims that he will take responsibility for this forest, so he should open the gate already. Hearing his words, the other dryads think that he is spitting lies, and they all scream that they will kill them, that they will shoot them dead no matter what. Eventually, though, the High Dryad stops them and lands. He tells Randolph that he had better keep his promise, and Randolph tells him not to worry. He always does. He will bring back a spirit to this forest. The High Dryad doesn't really expect someone like him to actually pull it off. He just figured it wouldn't be too late to kill him if he fails. With that, he gives the order to follow, as he has no patience for tardiness. They are taken to another open clearing with a bunch of rocks, stacked on one another. The High Dryad explains that, with the forest dying, the only way to open the tower's gate is to use the corpse of this stone spirit. He shouldn't forget that. If he fails, he will become nourishment for the forest immediately. Randolph asks what if he succeeds, so the High Dryad promises him a worthy reward, worthy of it. Thus, Randolph is granted the return of the spirit to the forest's sub-quest, where he will gain the Friend of the Dryad achievement, and the forest's gratitude if he succeeds. With that, the High Dryad opens the portal, which immediately blesses the entire forest with a divine light, and they are all entered immediately. Hudson is amazed as he looks around at the awestruck scenery, and asks Randolph if they have entered the Tower of Spirits. Randolph denies it. This is the inside of the portal meant to enter the tower. To enter the tower, they have to receive permission first from that thing. Hudson notes that it's kind of cute, and the spirit approaches Randolph immediately, seeing that he has a druid's aura, so he will be granted permission to climb the tower. It asks if the ones behind him are his friends, and if they are ones he could entrust his life to. Randolph agrees to both things, and the spirit says that's good. He will allow them to enter the tower as well. However, each of them must pass through the tower trials on their own. As they all begin to disappear, Isabella knows that she will be right back, and Hudson screams out, very confused, that his body is disappearing. The spirit tells them not to worry. Time in reality and time in the tower flow differently, so they should climb earnestly. He wishes them luck with this. Randolph is granted the third main quest to climb the tower. Contents of their trial. Randolph is sent to a rather ominous-looking door, thinking that it's been a while since he's been to this tower. However, he has never heard of a trial like this. To enter the Tower of Spirits, one must pass through a trial. A trial takes on different forms depending on the climber's elemental affinity. When he created Isabella, the elemental affinity he chose was wind, meaning for Isabella it should be the trial of wind, and for Hudson, it should be the trial of water. Each trial that forms will be delivered, best suited to its climber, but this is a trial of an element he has never seen before. Is it because, when Randolph was created, he had an affinity for every element? Suddenly, the door in front of him opens up and finds him amazing. He is a being with affinity for all elements, water and fire, lightning and darkness. He possesses elements that cannot coexist. Is it because of the void element, the one that encompasses all things? Though this is far too much to be simply called a void, this is the incarnation of chaos. He should come in the trial he must pass through, which is called, appropriately, the trial of chaos. He has opened a trial that has never been opened before, so he should be careful, as if chaos devours him, he will never be able to return from this place. Randolph goes inside and thinks about the trial of chaos. For the past 5 years, he's played Pangenia without missing a single day. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say he is the gamer who's played this game the longest, and knows more about it than anyone else. Yet Pangenia still has endless things he doesn't know about. It's a game with insane difficulty that's impossible to clear, yet always ignites an overwhelming urge to challenge it. It even has these unknown regions, places where there is nothing but mystery. This is why he can't help but fall in love with this game all over again. That door said the trial of chaos has been opened for the first time, so it means that he will be the first to clear this place too. As he draws his sword, the figure that stands in front of him looks behind, and he sees that it's actually Wilhelm. Why is the character he raised showing up in a trial? Before he can wonder more, Wilhelm charges in with a mighty blast, immediately going for his neck, giving Randolph barely any time to dodge. If he puts aside why Windhelm has appeared as the trial, why is he really supposed to fight the guy who used to be rank 1 and win? He manages to strike him, but he only strikes his cloak, and the sword Windhelm threw falls down, allowing him to pick it up and smash it into Randolph, who thinks that this is truly the most insane game ever made. because he equips Michaela's armor and Hermes' shoes. The sword couldn't completely cut through his arm, but this also means that Wilhelm's attack power isn't far off from his defense. He does look like Wilhelm, but his stats are probably closer to his. If only the appearance is copied, then he has no reason to be scared. He activates Gale, sending Wilhelm flying. But even as he smashes into the wall, he still looks sternly at Randolph. He charges in, but Windhelm simply kicks him in the face as he dodges the strike, and then looks on with a scornful look, asking if he came here to reclaim his past glory. Before he can answer, Wilhelm charges in with his blade, asking if that is even possible for someone like him. However, Randolph grabs him by the head and asks who he is to talk like this to him, and cut his head off. He throws it to the ground and gets an HP potion drink. He recovers fully. It's a good thing he stocked up on potions with money from Hudson's casino, as more and more fragments of Wilhelm appear. If he hadn't bought them, he would have seriously been in trouble here. In Korea, Kim Hana concludes the interview with Gracia, noting that it must have been tiring coming all of this way, so they shouldn't linger. He says it wasn't a problem. Now that the interview is over, he has an off-the-record personal question for her. It's a rather simple question that Man mentioned in the article she wrote before. He wants to know everything about that man, without missing a single detail about it. Randolph continues fighting the fake Wilhelms, creating a valley of death around him, but he is getting extremely tired. He doesn't even know how much time has passed. He fought at least 100 of them. He is getting pretty worn out. The one saving grace is that they are not being summoned anymore, and since he can't see any path upward, this is probably the top floor. This was his last potion too, so it would be nice if a clear message appeared right about now. Suddenly though, the Wilhelms begin to dissipate into a dark mist, and they are transformed into malevolent spirits. They ask if Chaos. If they wonder why Chaos didn't work on him. He is a human, right? Not even a druid. They like him to think he'd make it all the way here. Randolph recognizes them as spirits of Chaos. They've shown themselves. Does that mean he has cleared the tower? Upon hearing this, the spirits laughed maniacally. They find his question ridiculous. He thought someone like him could ever clear this tower. The trial hasn't even begun. Gone beyond that barrier is where it truly starts. He is already in tatters just from getting this far. He really thinks he can clear something like this. That thing was never meant to be a trial. Beyond it, hundreds or thousands of chaos illusions he's been fighting are waiting for him to take his life. He should give up now. They will never clear this tower. Suddenly though, they see Randolph walking forward, and they freak out, demanding to know where he is going. Does he truly want to die? If he gives up here, he will make a special offer and form a contract with him. No, they will give him power, the location of a unique piece of equipment, or perhaps even a high-tier skill of a chaos type. Randolph does not listen to them. The Tower of Spirits sets a clear reward depending on which trial one enters. Clear the trial of fire, and one receives the fire spirit egg. Clear the trial of wind, and one receives the wind spirit egg. By hatching the egg, one can form a contract with a spirit of that attribute. The trial he entered was the trial of chaos, the first one ever opened in Pangenia. He thought the clear reward would be a chaos spirit egg. It only seemed natural. Spirit eggs are rare to begin with, and this would be the first one ever obtained. So a chaos spirit egg should be a top-tier reward. However, before he even cleared the tower, these spirits are already desperately clinging to make a contract with him. If that is the case, then beyond this door in front of him, there should be a reward even better than a chaos spirit egg. The spirits continue shouting at him, berating him, calling him a fool for not accepting. Randolph notes that they clearly said there were tons of figments on the other side, and the spirits agree. Does he truly plan to fight thousands of those illusions all at once? Randolph guesses it will definitely be hard, especially since he's used up all of his potions fighting the ones in here. However, thanks to that, he's also memorized their patterns to the point that it became rather dull. Now he does not need potions or any kind of power-up. He'll just repeat the patterns he's learned already. If doing only that will let him clear it, there is no reason to refuse. The spirits fall silent for a bit, completely stunned, but then they all smile, not expecting him to challenge it for such a selfish reason. He is an idiot they can actually admire. With that, the light consumes Randolph as he enters the gate, but he is brought back to the lobby of the tower. With this, he has finished the third main quest, and the results are now being calculated. The spirit guide appears behind him, noting that he really did succeed in clearing, so congratulations are in order. It seems his companions are also still alive. Randolph understands that all the talk about the real trial beginning was a lie. The spirits confirm as such. If he had chosen to contract with the spirits of chaos, he would have been trapped there for the rest of his life. Randolph hilts his blade and notes that those bastards are really good at lying, huh? The spirit guide notes that they are like that to begin with, although he must have received a hint when he crossed the trial. Either way, he should collect his clear reward and hold out his hand. For clearing the Tower of Chaos, he gains an egg. Randolph thinks that if it's nothing hidden, then the reward is likely just a chaos spirit egg. It's a little disappointing, but it's not a bad reward. The system glitches, and the chaos spirit egg suddenly transforms, gaining the heavenly title and becoming glitchier and glitchier, until it's revealed that he has obtained the heavenly spirit egg, an object of seemingly immense power. Randolph has never seen something like this before, and even the system can't categorize it. It's an unknown egg that fell from the heavenly realm, said to lie at the end of light, darkness, and chaos. Only celestials can see and hatch this egg. Randolph thinks that by celestials, it's referring to the heavenly race that lives in the heavenly realm, and the fact that he found this egg is proof that he is one. But no way. Is this connected to his heavenly trait? Maybe heavenly isn't just a name overlap, and this could be a trait related to the celestials. He asks the spirit guide if he knows anything about it, but beyond the fact that it is clearly not an ordinary egg, no. However, even the spirit kings are showing eager interest in it. Randolph knows of them, are some of the strongest beings in existence. They are the key meditators who make up Pangea. He is rather curious about what kind of egg it is, but there is no way to find out now, so he will have to hatch it later. He has become the first to conquer the Tower of Chaos. There is nobody to compare him to. This is an unprecedented achievement that nobody has ever accomplished. The total score is 240 points. The constellation of Fortune is amazed by his results, so the rewards are upgraded. Excited by his adventurous spirit, the constellation of Adventure also upgrades the reward. Another constellation praises him for defeating himself. Another cursed constellation expresses interest in him and the heavenly spirit egg, and the constellation that guides Black Light remembers his name. All three upgrade his reward. Randolph can only be happy. Some constellations showed interest in him back at Dramad's Sanctuary too. However, to think 5 of those high and mighty beings would take such an interest. These are all constellations of the 100-star temple. They are beings that play important roles in Pangea's setting, just like the Spirit Kings do. From a player's perspective, they are the kind of beings one loses nothing for staying on their good side, since they can directly assign special quests or upgrade rewards, just like this. In the game setting, he heard they liked stories humans tell. He guesses that means they really liked the Trial of Chaos he showed for the first time in the game's history. Naturally, the grade of the rewards is being transcended due to the constellations, and he can now choose 2 rewards from the 20 listed below. Randolph is impressed. This is far more than what he could have imagined. Sometime later, Isabella and Hudson cleared the tower and came out too. Isabella received a wind spirit egg as her clear reward, and Hudson got the water spirit egg. The number of spirit eggs one gets as a reward is decided randomly. Luckily, Isabella obtained 2 spirit eggs and decided to keep her promise to the Dryads by giving them one. If someday they hatch the wind spirit and release it into the forest, this Bassrock forest can regain its vitality, and the Dryads will have a new place to live in. In addition, as thanks, the Dryads gave them the best elixir, a mandragora. It's made from a 1,000-year-old medicinal herb that has absorbed the forest's vitality. Naturally and fortunately, they gave it to Isabella, who provided the spirit egg, so she will grow even stronger with this. He has also completed the Return to the Spirit Forest subquest. He gains the title Dryad's Friend, and a waypoint has been created in the teleport book for this forest. Additionally, in the Hall of Fame for the 3rd main quest, he is ranked 1st, so he has obtained the Guardian Wall privilege. As they ride away, Randolph looks at the Guardian Wall, which is a level 11 trait. It protects the locked-out body from danger and even warns him. Protection strength varies depending on the level of Guardian Wall for 30 seconds. A level 11 Guardian Wall nullifies attacks of 1 star or below. Randolph understands that when he logs into Pangea, it protects himself from reality. When he returns to reality, it protects him from the game. Now, there are 72 hours left on the broken golden scale fragment. Thinking about the future, the more remaining time he has, the better. Hudson, who remained silent up until now, thanks him as he never expected to obtain a spirit egg. He wants to hatch it as soon as possible, as the spirit should be able to solve his problem. Randolph agrees. The path from 9 to 10 is hard alone, but if he borrows the power of a spirit, it should be quite possible. Additionally, since he needs to stop by somewhere before going back, would he like to come along? Hudson agrees. After receiving such a great favor from him, he will accompany him any time if he needs him. Randolph thanks him. It's good to have comrades in all sorts of places after all. They arrive at the place Randolph wanted to go to, and Hudson immediately begins to shake, even if this seems like a rather normal place. Isabella asks why he is acting like this, and Randolph explains that it's the Knight's Garden, the territory of Marquis Weiser. It's where Hudson's fiancée is. Hudson, who is now despairing, asks why they are here. He is not qualified to propose to Serengeti just yet. Randolph tells him to not make such a fuss. He is not telling him to propose. They are here because he personally has something to ask Serengeti. As they walk around, Randolph sees the state of the city. Even though it seemed fine at first, there's suffering and famine around too. Even if hidden in the darkest corners of the town, when they reach the middle, they see people praying to some sort of structure with names written on it. Isabella guesses it's some type of memorial service, and Randolph does not know any of those names, but he does know how they ended up like that. The 500 names carved onto this gravestone all belong to the knights who followed him to the Great Expedition. He never once thought it was strange that he did not know their names. He never tried to remember any either. They weren't even important named NPCs after all, even if they fought for him. That was all part of the setting. They were just part of a game, but now that has changed. One woman slams the ground below her, demanding that he give her son back, and she continues screaming and screaming. Randolph simply goes up to her, and as she continues screaming, she seems to have a stroke, so he gently grabs her and puts her down. He calls for Isabella and notes that they should go to the relief station. This is the Goddess Church relief station, where there are a lot of patients, and they are getting more crowded by the day. Hudson looks around and notes that, beyond just the number of patients, there is also a severe lack of people working here to handle them. If this is the Knight's Garden, which should be one of the top 3 cities in the Barland Kingdom, how can they have such short staffing for a relief station? Suddenly, one of the monks there comes around and knows that they must be the ones who brought Sister May in after she fainted, right? They could have just passed her by, but they truly have good hearts. As he continues smiling, he closes in on Hudson and explains that, to operate the relief station, they collect donations from saintly brothers who visit. If they could donate just 50 gold, it would be a huge help. Hudson knows what this means. They are charging money for treatment, but how? Randolph is confused too. The city's coffers should fund a relief station run by the Goddess Church. Was it not forbidden to take personal donations? 50 gold. Even though hundreds of gold move around in the day in Arcana, does he really think it makes sense to demand the normal citizen's monthly wage as a treatment fee? The monk would like to say otherwise, but they really do not have a choice. Priest Andrew said that from now on they'll be taking donations to operate the relief station. Randolph sits down and finds this nonsense. He knows Priest Andrew, and he is not the kind of person who would do something like that. Priest Andrew is a high-ranking priest of the Goddess Church that serves the twin goddesses of Pangenia, Leah, and Pina. He is an NPC, who inevitably gives one honor-related quests when one's raising a class where honor is a factor. He is a devout believer, a spotless and upright sage. That is his setting. And would he really secretly take personal donations? The poorly maintained buildings he saw on the way here, and the vagrants sitting outside on the streets. Even this relief station that is not being run properly. This city should be fairly wealthy, even if it isn't as rich as Arcana. Just what on earth happened while he was gone? At the estate, the Marquis continues drinking, and his butler advises him to stop, as this is not healthy. The Marquis just throws the bottle at him and tells him to shut up and bring more, as he is not done yet. This is the Lord of the Knight's Garden, Marquis Weiser. Back at the relief station, Randolph decides that he needs to speak with Priest Andrew in person, so he demands that the monk take him there. The monk doesn't know about that. That will be rather difficult. A lot of people are waiting to be treated by the priest. After all, Randolph just tells Hudson to do it, and immediately, he pulls out a bag of coins. This is a donation of 50,000 gold, and if he were to let them meet that man right now, he will even double it. Seeing the amount of money in front of him, and the promise of more, the monk immediately escorts them there. Sure enough, Andrew greets them warmly, and tells him to have a seat. After he does, Andrew states that he heard he made a large donation to the relief station. Randolph knows that it was not a small amount. He heard he charges 50 gold just to receive a donation, so he figured he wouldn't be able to meet with him with an ordinary sum. Priest Andrew asks if he is disappointed because he is just an old man who cares about money. He is ashamed about it, and has nothing to defend against that accusation. Randolph was just curious, actually. How did a relief station like this in such a big city end up so desperate for money? Priest Andrew doesn't talk for a while, and notes that he heard he brought Sister May here after she collapsed. Her only son joined the Demon World Great Expedition and never came back. Since then, she's lived with that pain every single day, saying it's her fault, and that she should have stopped him, even though she couldn't. It's not just Sister May. Many people have lost family and friends. Countless knights who joined the Great Expedition while admiring Wilhelm the Night King swore they'd drive out the Demon King, but they never returned. Thus, Knight's Garden lost countless talented people and consumed enormous resources as war funds. It was such a prosperous city that even with heavy losses it might have recovered someday. However, the real problem began when Serengeti, his lordship's blood relative, returned. She did so with both of her legs gone, but for some reason, ever since she came back, she's remained unconscious and has not awakened. Many priests, including himself, tried to wake her, but nothing they did worked. His lordship gathered every kind of rare elixir and searched for a method, but even all of that failed. Because of that, The city's finances were already strained and had gradually hit rock bottom. In his impatience, the Marquis lost his reason. It was manipulated by all kinds of swindlers. Before long, it reached a point where he even took on tons of massive debts using the territory as collateral. After that, the Marquis fell into despair and eventually broke. Now he is a shell of what he once was. As a result, all the city subsidies were cut off, and now this is the only relief station left. If this place disappears too, every patient in this city will be left abandoned on the streets. That is why, even for brothers like him who helped Sister May, they shamelessly demand donations. They didn't have enough beds, supplies, or manpower to care for the patients right away. Randolph guessed the gist of things. Is Serengeti unconscious due to the mental shock, or is it a physical problem? Andrew notes that if it was something as simple as that, they would have been able to treat it long ago. It seems she's in a cursed state, but it was beyond their ability to do. Randolph thinks about the curse in that case. Like with Isabella, it might be possible to break it with the blessing of the stars. Randolph should be going. He has business with the Marquis after all. Andrew tells him to wait a bit, since his lordship became a shell of his former self and does not readily receive guests as before. He can't exactly call it repayment for his donation, but if he gives him a few days, he will arrange a meeting. Randolph does not have time for that, and he should not worry about the donation. He already got his money's worth. Suddenly, a guard rushes in and tells Priest Andrew that his lordship said to bring in the guest, who donated that amount of money immediately. Randolph tells Andrew that this is what he was talking about, so he will be going. Before he does though, Andrew stops him one last time, thanking him for helping, even though he does not know the reason. Andrew states it wasn't even about a donation, it was about helping Sister May. Randolph just smiles and notes that it's good to see him again. Randolph is confused, as they have never met before, but he lets it go. Eventually, they are taken to the Marquis's estate, who sits at a table with Randolph and looks at him rather sternly as he sips his coffee. This is the man that donated a large sum of 100,000 gold to the relief station. He does not look like a wandering merchant, as he doesn't seem to have any supplies with him. Perhaps he is just a rich young master traveling around. He apologizes for inviting him so abruptly like this, but he had to meet him. He introduces himself as Weiser, the Lord of Night's Garden. Randolph thinks that he really changed a lot on the outside, as Marquis Weiser was once a knight who made a name for himself across the continent with outstanding skill in his younger days. His daughter Serengeti was able to obtain a star and become a one-star transcendent in Pangenia with his help back when he was Wilhelm. She rose into the ranks of the strongest on the continent. Thanks to that, his house established its position and held its power within the Barlen kingdom, and in gratitude he swore loyalty to him. Weiser was the kind of man who repaid grudges with his sword and repaid kindness with loyalty. Naturally, he does not know whether it is only his appearance that has been broken now, or even his heart. Weiser states that he may have already known why he invited him here, but Knight's Garden is currently facing severe financial hardship, so he would like to propose something beneficial to both of them. Randolph refuses, as he is here for one thing, to cure Serengeti. Weiser's eyes widen for a bit, but suddenly he lets out a throaty laugh, and his eyes become still with rage, so he was mistaken. He thought he was just some rich young master, but he is a charlatan in the end. Did he perhaps hear rumors of him from all over the continent that if he mentions the Marquis of Knight's Garden's daughter, he will pour money into his hands? Fine. Then how much does he have to pay him to cure her? 300,000? 400,000? Or is he going to demand he hands over the entire fucking territory? He smashes the table, noting that he's been played by scum like him too many times, and he has lost way too much already. What more does he have to give before they are all satisfied? He sighs, noting that this was a waste of time, and tells his guards to gouge out this con artist's eyes and throw him out as punishment. Randolph tells them to stay their blades. He does not need money, so he should listen until the end. He cannot guarantee it, but there is a chance he can treat her. Weiser notes that this is a novel approach, but fine, let's say he can cure her. Why has he never seen him in his life? So why would someone like him cure his daughter without taking even a single coin? Randolph explains that this is a debt he is repaying to him, and also a debt he is here to collect. He is the successor of Wilhelm, the Night King, the one whom he swore loyalty. If he is taken to Serengeti, he has something to ask of her, and in return he will heal her, who has sacrificed herself for her master. Weiser immediately lets out a sly grin as he hears that he is the Night King's successor. The continent is crawling with people who call themselves his successor, and he must be one of them too, huh? He has had enough. He orders his men to kill him, and the two outside as well. The guard who had his hand on his blade immediately rushes in with an attack, but Randolph barely reacts and blocks his strike so hard with the cup that it shatters, and the blade flies off from the guard's hand. He tells Weiser to prepare the place, as he will prove him that he is Wilhelm's successor, even though he doesn't trust him now. They all gather in the arena, and Weiser puts Randolph against his strongest knight. Hudson certainly did not expect a duel, and Isabella notes that he has always been an unpredictable man, but she really doesn't know how all of this happened. Randolph looks at the man before him. He has a full set of equipment with the blessing of a high-ranking priest. He is absolutely committed to this. The knight asks if he is truly the successor of the Night King. If he was lying, he should confess and seek forgiveness, as his life may yet be spared. Randolph just tells him whatever. He should just uphold his promise that he will keep his identity hidden and not go around telling everyone he lost to, just because he got a bit embarrassed. The knight tells him not to worry, as his word is his honor, and that it will not happen. Now he wants to see the skills of a self-proclaimed successor of the Night King. He charges in with his blade, and Randolph dodges but sees how quick he is. He continues dodging the next strike, and thinks that many high-ranking key knights were wiped out due to the Great Expedition, but even this man would have higher stats than him currently. With the difference in equipment, he can take him on lightly. Before he can fully unsheath his blade though, the knight stops his hand and charges in with his blade, aiming squarely for Randolph's head. Seeing that he has no other option, Randolph smashes his head against the hilt, stopping the blade from moving. The knight certainly did not expect this. He is no fraud after all. He is just a damn lunatic. Another knight next to Weiser notes that his movements are quite decent, but he doesn't believe so. They are nothing but cheap tricks. He has seen countless idiots who went around saying that they are the Night King's successor, piggybacking on his reputation, but his sword cannot be so easily replicated. Having seen it firsthand, he can tell his sword has surpassed the level of a human being, incomprehensible for people like him, unless he shows that a technique akin to that. This man cannot claim to be his successor. The knight fighting Randolph notes that he is quite different from the fraudsters he's seen till now, that's for sure. He has real talent. If he admits his lies, he will take him under his command, as he would ask the Lord for his sins to be forgiven. Randolph finds it funny. He has a full set of equipment against a level 3, yet he is still so full of himself. The knight tells him that he only wears this because his lord commends it. Randolph just kicks him away and notes that it's good for him, then he has a lot of good stuff on. But if that is the case, he will also show him his overpowered items too. He suddenly throws his blade at the knight, who is struck squarely in the chest, and the sword flips around in the air before landing roughly. With that, Randolph equips 2 extreme iron swords, shocking everyone as he goes into dual wielding, something they have never seen before. He continues smashing against the knight's blows, and he recognizes as such, but even with this increased speed, his attacks are far too light. A two-handed sword is slow but has serious damage output. It would be enough to lightly damage him through his armor. However, a dual blade style is fast, but has low damage. It cannot even scratch his armor as long as he defends his vital areas. This is no threat to him. Rather, he only needs to defend a few areas. Suddenly though, Randolph smashes through with a powerful blast as he throws his dual-wielding swords away. He tells the knight to look closely, as he will show him the true sword of the Night King. Back when he had to choose a reward, Randolph had a lot of options, from a demon-slaying sword all the way to a true health potion. One thing caught his eye, an extreme iron sword, which was just a blade pushed to the extreme. It was a regular iron sword, but an oddball transcendent star strengthened it to the max, and transcended this item. That is why it gave +3 strength, and a sword mastery boost of level 1. Using the sword with other extreme items will create a set effect called Extreme Wear. Since he already had the Michaela set for his armor, it would be nice to have the double bone bonuses stack up with that. He chose 2 extreme swords. His weapon master trait caused him to gain +5 levels in mastery. His masterful hands gave him another +5, and the extreme swords each gave him 1 level, 2 levels from the Extreme Wear. Class star successors may also read the memories of the previous star owner under certain conditions, and since he has reached sword mastery level 10, he may read the memories of the possessed star. It is recreating parts of the Night King's Windhelm sword technique, so that's why he can now unleash it. The knight can't do anything now, as Randolph switches between blades expertly, like he has been doing it his whole life. This should be an impossible sword technique, but he sees that the tide is now against him. He has to stop this. He must create distance and get out of his range. However, how can he even do such a thing? If he tries to create space, he comes charging in at him with his quick dual blades, and if he uses strength to take him head on, he uses his two-handed sword to break his balance. Does such a sword technique even exist? He is not even keeping his movements bound through simple attacks. This feels like space itself has submitted to him, and he is its true master. Humans become stupefied when they meet something that is incomprehensible to them, something that has far surpassed the limits of their own cognition. They enter a state where they can do nothing but watch. That applies to everyone on the training floor now, Hudson and Isabella too. The same for Weiser and the knight who is facing Randolph. He unleashes his final attack to seal the deal, the sword technique of the Night King Wilhelm, the world-splitting strike. This is something that would split a mountain, but Randolph had its power controlled after the attack is finished. The knight simply drops his blade, only slightly grazed at the neck, and falls down, noting that he lost. After a bit, Randolph screams at Weiser and asks if he needs to show him more. Weiser knows that this is not the case, and tells the other knight that, from now on, they will treat this man with the utmost respect. He is the successor of Wilhelm, the venerable Night King. After this, Weiser takes them to the room where Serengeti is resting, and explains that ever since she returned from the Great Expedition, she has been like this. He has tried everything to wake her up. Every elixir they said was effective and famous healers. None of that seemed to work. He even called a priestess, but because the curse was too powerful, she said there is nothing she or anyone else can do for her. Randolph stares at her, and using his great sage trait, sees that this is no mere curse. This is the Demon King's curse. Of course, even a priestess or holy emperor could not do anything against something like this. However, if he performs the exorcism using star energy, the power of a star guardian instead of mana, then it might just work. As Randolph reaches for her, Weiser notes that he does not doubt him anymore. But does he truly have a way to wake up his daughter? Randolph previously stated that he is not sure, but he is willing to try. With that, he puts his hand over her head and bestows the blessing of the stars. Immediately, the room begins to glow in a holy light, and all the star energy Randolph has stacked is consumed. It is insufficient to break the Demon King's curse. However, the limit of the curse is lifted, if temporarily. With that, Serengeti slowly begins to open her eyes and ask where she is. Weiser immediately crouches down to her level and asks if she is awake. Does she recognize him? However, Serengeti is looking behind him at Hudson, who is shaking with grief, apologizing for coming so late and for not being able to do anything to save her. He thought that as long as she stayed alive, it would be more than enough if he became a member of the city council and returned as fast as he could. The Marquis would definitely acknowledge him too. If she'd lost the lower half of her body, then he would just become her legs, because as long as she was alive, he'd take care of her forever. He believed that if he had not given up, an opportunity would someday appear. However, that belief was nothing more than just arrogance and sheer greed on his part. The opportunities were not eternal, and Serengeti's body kept losing its vitality. The face that used to smile brightly at him grew increasingly thin, and the strong arms that once swung swords that took care of mountains became just branches. If the Star-Bearer had arrived even a little later, he would have never been able to see her again. Hudson apologizes once again for coming so late, and Weiser demands to know who he is and what he is to his daughter. Randolph tells them all to stop. He knows they cannot contain their emotions right now, but the Demon King's curse has not been completely lifted. Weiser asks if he is saying she will fall asleep again. Randolph explains that at best she will be able to keep her eyes open for today. To completely break the curse, they must find another star. To fully lift it, his star energy needs to be a lot higher. There are only two ways to raise star energy: to level up or find stars. The first thing he must do is to recover the 5 stars that Knight Windhelm dropped when he died, because of the star successor class secret effect, which allows him to read the previous owner's memories from a star. He has to retrieve them as quickly as possible. If someone else gets those stars first, he might not be able to recover Windhelm's memories. He's recovered 1, so there are only 4 left. If he's going to retrieve them quickly, he needs to ask Serengeti about his death. He tells them all to get out, as he has something important to discuss with her alone. With that, Hudson and Weiser go to the table, with Weiser asking if he and Serengeti really secretly proposed to each other. Hudson apologizes that he introduced himself so late, but Weiser just sighs and notes that he is grateful that he came all this way for his daughter. From now on, he won't be seeing her again. This pangs Hudson in the heart, and he gets that he will soon enter the city council and become a man worthy of Serengeti, so he just needs a chance, just one. Weiser tells him that this is not about whether he likes him or not. The Great Expedition's aftermath costed them dearly, so restoring the knights and treating Serengeti took an enormous amount of money. In the end, after the territory's funds went dry, they were reduced to begging other houses for help. The one who approached him was Duke Sion's house, a great house in the Valan kingdom that is powerful enough to rival even the king. Duke Sion lent them an enormous sum on the condition that they send Serengeti to him. Back then, he had no other choice. No matter what, continuing her treatment came first. Additionally, even if Serengeti were to never wake up, and their family collapsed like this, he believes that for the sake of Duke Sion's reputation, they would not simply abandon a girl they took in. He accepted the offer for that reason. In 1 month, he promised that she would be sent to his house. It is an unavoidable decision to protect the story, the territory, and Serengeti, so he should forget about her too, for her sake. Serengeti looks at Randolph and demands to know who he is. He explains that he is the successor of the Night King, Wilhelm. He came to deliver news of his final moments. Serengeti tells him to stop lying, as he has no successor. Randolph expected something like this from one of his closest aides. There is no way she'd let him brush this off with just vague words. So he explains that the day she first faced a star, she could not stop worrying that if she consumed a star and transcended, she might stop being Serengeti. Back then, he could not understand the anxiety within her. However, thinking about it now, it must have been that she wanted her love for Hudson to remain unchanged. Serengeti is confused that something only Wilhelm and she would know. But Randolph knows another thing, that he gave her words of encouragement. Well, it's more like he actually just pushed her and told her to get on with it. Serengeti begins to let out a stream of tears. Randolph explains that there are circumstances. His appearance has changed drastically, but yes, if she wants, he can tell her other stuff as well. He knows about the memory of when he encouraged Serengeti because of one thing back then, when he was a player. He did not know the details of what was said. The encouragement he gave was just one of 26 emotional expressions that pop up when one presses the control and keyboard keys together. However, thanks to the Star Successor's class hidden effect, it happened yesterday, as if the scene was being drawn inside his head naturally. That manner of encouragement was not his, but an action reflecting the personality of the character named Wilhelm. Serengeti knows that he is not the kind of man who would speak lightly to others, so this is more than enough. Randolph thanks her for believing him, and she also asks, if his appearance changed, does that mean he became a sinner? Randolph confirms as such. She tells him to be wary of hunters from now on, but he is already a few steps ahead of her. People, players actually, who possess others while retaining memories from before death are called sinners, and the NPCs who specialize in hunting sinners are called hunters or reapers. Randolph notes that, more importantly, there is something he wants to ask about his final moments. That day, he definitely slayed the Demon King. He is sure he drove the path of light into that bastard's very core, and that his body started to collapse. However, in that instant, everything just stopped. After that, his consciousness cut out, and he died. He wants to know from her own mouth about what happened the day he died. The Demon World expedition led by Wilhelm involved unprecedented forces of 200,000 elite troops, and their morale, driven by the ambition to become the heroes of the first Demon World expedition. Based on the data they've accumulated so far, they prepared thoroughly for that world. A meticulous operation with not a single inch of error left, and every variable accounted for was designed. Everything was perfect, or rather it was supposed to be. Serengeti lay down amongst the bodies of her comrades. The fight was completely ripped out of her. A priestess told her to continue forward. She would give her blessing, even if it was to cost her her life. Another soldier noted that it was frustrating, but this was probably as far as he would go, so she should leave. Another told her to hurry, and so on. Everyone basically dumped their last words onto her, and she could not do anything but cry, noting that it's truly over. Even after using that many lives as stepping stones, they could not even reach the Demon King's feet. She did not even pay any mind to the undead that came out of the ground. People she used to think of as comrades, now just bodies that seek flesh. Serengeti thought that it attacked them, as if it knew their movements. This makes no sense unless a traitor is colluding with the demons among them. This was the end for her. They were collapsing from inside the expedition force. Was this truly impossible from the very beginning? Suddenly, beams of light took care of the undead, and a voice told her that it is not over yet. That beam of light grew into a ball, and it exploded throughout, taking the undead out with extreme prejudice. Wilhelm appeared before her, noting that she looked quite exhausted, but she should rest for a moment, as it will all be over soon. Wilhelm was known as the martial god. The Night King was a living god himself. Before the martial god, the demons were so outmatched that one could even feel sorry for them. That's how overwhelming his presence was. A single strike of his reshaped the earth itself. The deep despair that Serengeti felt, the aching loneliness of her own demise, it was all cut down into nothing but by a single sword and a single man who was determined to see it through. As they walked through the demon realm together, Serengeti told him that there was no need for him to do this. Her body has already recovered enough. He told her not to worry about it. He is only saying it so she can recover her stamina. But are they the only two that survived? Serengeti noted that, excluding the wounded they sent back through the entrance of the demon world, this would be counted as a total annihilation. Wilhelm understood and noted that, at the very least, she must survive and return. She cried every night, saying she wanted to see that guy Hudson or whatever his name was. Serengeti became embarrassed and screamed that she did not cry. However, she will definitely go meet him again. Suddenly, a gigantic demonic rune right in the middle of where they were walking. With only a few seconds to react, Wilhelm pushed Serengeti roughly out of the way, noting that this game really was not easy. Serengeti screamed for Wilhelm, who told her that when she gets back, whether she marries or falls in love with someone else, whatever it is, she should live well. Suddenly, Serengeti was hit with another form of guilt, the guilt of survival. the expedition will end in failure, but the Night King has saved her life and allowed her to continue living. Even if she returns alone, no one would blame her. That's how horrific and fierce such a battle was. If she just makes it back, she can meet the one she has been longing for all this time and can return to her happy everyday life. As long as she survives and gets out of here, she could be happy. However, she was not a woman to allow such a thing to happen, so she immediately used position warp to change places with Wilhelm at the last moment, the rune exploding in a gigantic strike of dark energy. Wilhelm stood where she once was, completely shaken, and saw what had happened. Her legs were completely destroyed. Serengeti explains that she was lucky. Even after getting caught in the Demon King's trap, her body did not vanish. She lost both of her legs, but thanks to the elixir Wilhelm gave her, she was able to survive. Randolph feels a bit ashamed. Back then he was pretty immersed, so he acted without thinking much, but it played out pretty dramatically in game. She also explains that after that, Wilhelm placed an extreme vanishing enchantment talisman on her and hid her body. Because of this talisman, the Demon King could not sense her, so she was able to watch the situation unfold until the very end. Randolph remembers up to that point too, but that's not what he is curious about. He is wondering about what happened after that. Serengeti explains that just as he remembers, the Demon King certainly fell. However, all of a sudden Wilhelm froze, like time itself had stopped completely. The strike that he drove into the Demon King suddenly stopped, as dark energy permeated throughout the entire plane. The Demon King called him a monster, even if he is a transcendent of 5 stars. He did not expect him to drive him so far without any divine authority from a goddess. However, that was his mistake. Without a goddess's authority, he may shatter his flesh, but he cannot destroy his essence. Truly, he expresses his respect, and as a token of that respect, he will be using his body as his new vessel. Just like that, Wilhelm was engulfed in a dark essence, his body beginning to corrupt at the seams. Suddenly, though, beams of light appeared out of that ball, and the Demon King recognized such a light. It was Pina. She intended to take the life of the knight who followed her just because she didn't want her star to be taken, and she still dares to call herself a goddess. After Windhelm fell down completely and utterly lifeless, the Demon King swore vengeance on her for not honoring this duel and for her constant meddling. Serengeti notes that she has no memory of what happened after that. Randolph understands. The Demon King tried to take Wilhelm's body, and the goddess Pina intervened. But what on earth was happening? For a goddess to intervene personally like this, outside the castle wall, a bunch of guards are standing watch. One of them notes that this is boring, and that they have not been assigned to guard duty way too often lately. Another explains that he heard everyone from Night Order all the way down to the lowest-ranking soldiers have had their pay delayed because the territory's finances are in trouble. As a result, people keep leaving, and there are not enough replacements for shifts who'd stick around the territory that is going under after all. As the boardman notes that it's true, he suddenly stops in his tracks as he sees something in front of him, something that makes his heart sink. It is monsters who are charging in. This is a monster wave, and it is attacking the city. A very long time ago, a war between light and darkness broke out in Pangenia. The goddess Laya died during that war, and the continent sank into a deep-seated darkness. After that, the continent was split apart, and the ends of the roads were blocked by a dark void. To connect the separated lands, people eventually poured astronomical sums of money into the development of warp travel. In other words, a warp is an essential means of transportation for people in Pangenia to travel between the continents. At the same time, a warp is an unknown object that passes through the dark void. Warps that are not managed and abandoned can sometimes connect to that dark void and turn into disasters. Disasters like these, where a monster wave appears to attack a city. After Randolph takes all the information in and thinks about everything that Serengeti said, he is left with more questions than answers. He is not certain, but if he tries to piece everything together, 1. The reason he could not kill the Demon King was something rather strange. Right before he could kill the Demon King, time stopped, and to the real him, the moment looked like a common blue screen. However, Serengeti witnessed everything, which means NPCs who are being inside the game were not affected by that time stop. Perhaps for some reason, users playing the game were set up such that they could not defeat a Demon King. As for the existence that can kill his true essence, which the Demon King mentioned, maybe that existence isn't a user, but a player who has entered the world inside the game. Then that might be why they ended up in this other world. 2. The conditions for becoming a player. If one dies in the game, they are summoned as a player. However, the death of the character Windhelm was not his first ever death, so the most reasonable explanation is that one becomes a player when the strongest character they raise dies. He always liked hardcore games. He'd raise a character enough, and if it did not look promising, he'd just abandon it and make a new one. In that process, the gap in combat power grew so large That perhaps the death of the ordinary characters did not trigger a summon, he is not sure, but for now this seems the most likely. Either way, thanks to that, he knows what to do next. The traitors who interfered with his expedition must die. They attacked them like they knew their movements. That makes no sense unless someone was colluding with the demon world. He remembers what Hudson said previously, that it's a well-known story that the expedition failed because of infighting amongst the 8 heroes. It is a high probability that it's those 8 heroes whom he does not have any memory of. He will hunt every last one of those bastards down and make sure they suffer just as much as they did. If he failed to destroy the Demon King's essence, then there is a high chance that he is still alive. He will kill the Demon King, the root cause that has turned them into players, and put an end to all of this for good. Suddenly, Hudson smashes through the door, noting that something really bad is happening. The city is under attack. They all go outside and see that the once peaceful town is now engulfed in flame. The knights are doing their best against the demons, but they are getting overwhelmed again and again. Therefore, their force is too small. Isabella thinks that there is only one thing that could lead to such an invasion. It appears like a monster wave broke through a nearby wall. Randolph knows that bastard Weiser said the city's finances were ruined, but he even siphoned off the wall maintenance budget? How could he be so brazen? As if summoned by his words, Weiser rushes in with his knights on horseback, taking out as many demons as possible. Randolph grabs his attention, and Weiser is confused. He thought he would not be in the city anymore. Randolph demands an explanation, and Weiser explains that, as he can see, the monster wave has turned the city into a wreck. It appears something went wrong at the 3 warps in the east, west, and south. Hudson is shocked that 3 things went wrong at the same time, and Randolph cannot believe his stupidity. Weiser knows it is shameless to ask, but he pleads with him to lend some of his strength. If he fights with them, it will be a huge help. With that, Randolph gains 2 quests, the Defender City sub-quest, and the 4th main quest, to fill the crack in the dark void. The warp has overheated before the strong ones from the abyss can spill out. He must stop all the overheated warps from operating in 10 minutes. Randolph can't believe how brave and wise he is. He is throwing a quest at him in this situation. He continues begging him, but with the city's current forces defending, it is impossible. Hudson also begs him to help with Serengeti's territory, but Isabella tells him this is not something that one can decide with emotions. Randolph thinks that this is truly the worst-case scenario. For now, it's only normal monsters, so they are holding on, but the moment 10 minutes pass and a hybrid appears, they will be wiped out without being able to do anything against it. A hybrid is something neither he nor anyone here can handle at this moment. The only way to prevent hybrids from appearing is to destroy all the 3 warp gates and clear the quest before 10 minutes are up. However, they do not have enough forces. The regular soldiers are busy defending the city, so that means the Night Order, and the 3 of them have to break through a Legion-scale monster wave and smash 3 warps. It is a dangerous gamble, and the odds are far too low, though now he should use this special perk, the Golden Scale Shop. He does not know the details, but is probably tied to the broken Golden Scale fragments, so he can't just give up now. The timing for this quest is awful, with 0 preparation. There is no way he can do a main quest here, so the directional call is to get out without looking back. He looks at the memorial, thinking that there is no need to throw his life away for something so hopeless, and cannot allow himself to be swayed by emotions like pity, as it will not help him survive. Suddenly he hears the screams of the people nearby, as they try to run away from the beasts, but it is all futile. Amongst the corpses, a single child cries. Her parents have protected her from harm until now, but it's clearly evident that her turn is next. Suddenly, Weiser sees Priest Andrew, and immediately redirects the knights, cutting off the monsters chasing the priest. The Marquise cuts through the demons too, and tells Andrew that he must get a horse. They cannot save everyone anyway, and if they lose him, then there is truly no hope. Andrew notes that he refuses to abandon everyone, but at the same time a goblin charges in. With only a few inches left beyond them, there is no way anyone would have time to react. Unless it's Isabella, that is. She cuts the goblin's head and hand off with ease, confusing everyone. Randolph knows that it might be quite tough this time. Anyone who wants to pull out can do so. Hudson tells him not to say that. This is about defending Serengeti's territory, so of course, he will help. Isabella notes that he talks like things have been comfortable ever since they teamed up. Randolph tells her to shut it, and notes that he is just saying that, because this time, he really needed their help. This is a quest no sane person would ever accept. There is no way to clear this difficulty while dragging a half-collapsing city bundle of NPCs along. The only reason he accepted this quest is not that he feels sorry for the dying people, not because he feels responsible for a city that fell after joining the expedition, and not because he wants to protect the family of a subordinate who lost his leg saving him. It is also not because he feels guilty about the people who lost their families because of him. Surely not. It is just because he is a freak who loves hardcore situations. Starting now, they are going to cut a path through this wave, no matter how long it will take. The Marquis charges in with his men, but one of them asks if they are really going to keep pushing through like this. If they fail, they will be isolated in the middle of enemy lines, and nobody will be able to pull them out of there. The Marquis, however, doesn't answer. He knows that this is basically a suicide mission. He trusts what Randolph has said. When he suggested that they carve through this wave, Weiser was naturally against it. With only their current knights, it would be impossible. If they get isolated halfway, they would be wiped out. And then who would defend the city? Randolph asked if there was another way. As long as they don't destroy the warp outside the walls, the monsters will never stop pouring out of it. This is not about whether they can or not. They have to. He will make sure they break through no matter what. That is why he continues giving the order to charge and not slow down, no matter what. He has put all of his trust into Randolph. Randolph is pleased that he keeps running. He should do so, as this is enough. They are within their attack range after all. He throws a mighty spear at the kraken that is holding the gates shut, which is shocked to see that it took one of its tendrils down. After that, Randolph summons the teleport book and creates a warp above, connecting to Basrog Forest, where dryads pour out. The dryad reader speaks, noting that they have come to repay the grace of the forest to their dearest friend. With that, they strike at the demons below, giving them no quarter. As Weiser continues charging in, he is shocked, and Marco did not expect to see dryads here. It seems he had a hidden card up his sleeve. Randolph never expected a sub-quest reward he got in the Basrog Forest to be so helpful. Stopping by the forest back then felt like it was just pure luck, so he wants to see, truly see, what it means to be a friend of the forest. The dryad leader sees that the kraken is blocking the entrance, and he also sees that Randolph wants to pass through, as he will carve a path for him. With that, he lets a mighty arrow fly, which seems to be just a precise attack at first, but the moment it hits the kraken, the beast explodes along with the piece of gate he was holding. The monsters around all perish under the attack's weight. With that, the knights charge through, actually managing to get out of the city. Marco is glad to see it, and Rebecca knows that they just need to destroy the warps, and it's over. Randolph can't believe he made a path so easily. Is that what a level 9 raid boss monster is like? Weiser rallies everyone, noting that it's far too early to celebrate. The monster wave is not yet over. They have roughly 6 minutes until the hybrid emerges from the warp. They have to destroy all 3 warps and stop the wave. Before that happens, from now on they will split into 3 units. They will destroy the 3 remaining warps simultaneously within the remaining time, and end this once and for all. Randolph, however, notes that they will split their forces into 2 units. But Weiser says they do not have time. He knows just as well as anyone that they cannot leave a warp unguarded. Randolph knows as such, but even if the dryads have the monster horde that invaded the city pinned down, there will definitely still be a large number of monsters guarding the warps. If they split the Night Order into 3, they will never destroy the warps in time, no matter how. Weiser understands where he's coming from, but what about the remaining warp? There is not enough time to destroy one and move to the other. Knowing this, Randolph notes that for the remaining warp, only he and Priest Andrew will be going. Weiser asks, what kind of ridiculous plan that is? There is no way something like that is possible. Randolph tells him to trust him. This is the choice with the highest probability of success. However, 30 seconds before the hybrid comes out, they have to destroy the warp before then. Weiser truly does not know what he is thinking, but they have come so far thanks to him, so he will entrust him again and count on his will. As Randolph is left with Andrew, he asks what they are going to do now. Randolph notes that they are just going to destroy the warp. But Andrew wonders how exactly they are supposed to do something like that. Randolph tells him to be quiet just for a moment, as he is thinking of the method right now. Isabella Hudson and Weiser departed for the 2 warps. There will be monsters guarding them, but compared to the size of the horde that charges into the city, it should be a smaller number if each team breaks through with 100 knights, and with the high combat power of Weiser and Isabella, they should be able to destroy them in time. The problem is at the moment is a single warp gate that will remain, so the mutated monster will appear, the last attack pattern of the Dark Warrior. It is an annoying bastard on a completely different level from ordinary monsters, so he must handle it. Leaving it to the other adds too many uncertainties. If it is him, he can block the other monsters with Star Pierce and force a one-on-one situation. The minimum time needed to kill it is 30 seconds at least. If a high-ranking priest like Andrew helps, that's enough time to make it possible. But if they were delayed for even just a second, the odds drop exponentially. In the end, all he can do is entrust that they will pull it off. He summons the High Dragon, and they ride away. With only 5 minutes remaining, the others get to the first gate. They smash through the demons defending it, and with only 1 minute remaining and 4 seconds, they manage to take down the gate. With 34 seconds left, Randolph and Andrew get to the other gate. Seeing that the 2 gates are taken care of, It seems the other knights were successful as well. With 34 seconds left, the minimum condition for clearing has been met. The High Dragon makes a way through the legions of demons, and at the same time, a mutated monster appears, the Dark Warrior. It seems impressed by Randolph, however, who knows that he only has to defeat this demon to succeed. But can he do it with 28 seconds remaining? As the sky darkens and rain begins to pour, the two groups meet up and make their way to the last warp. Weiser knows that it is being handled by Wilhelm's successor, but even so, they do not have much time. He hopes that he will be finished by the time they get there. Randolph equips the armor set and uses it with Hermes' shoes to dash through, going past the Dark Warrior and clenching his blade to crash it into the warp. Before he can do that, however, the Dark Warrior grabs his head and throws him away violently, causing the High Dragon to act. It uses all of its head to pummel the Dark Warrior, but in only a few seconds, the High Dragon is defeated and can only be reused again in 24 hours. There are only 21 seconds left until the Black Flesh Hybrid summons, so Randolph charges in again. He smashes his blade into one of the Dark Warrior's openings and equips the Extreme Iron Swords. The Dark Warrior, sensing this, simply cuts his hand away, but Andrew heals it right back up, allowing Randolph to act. The Dark Warrior has a new objective now. He uses his mighty force to push Randolph out of the way, and instantly rushes to Andrew, who cannot do anything against it. Though Randolph rushes in to help, but more demons are coming from behind, threatening Andrew's life. Randolph takes care of them, but it seems that they are now encircled, which Randolph was waiting for. Suddenly he uses Star Pierce, creating an arena around them, forcing this to be a one-on-one battle. With 11 seconds left, Randolph smashes his blades against the Dark Warrior, creating a gigantic shake in the ground. The aftermath is brutal. Randolph is injured, the Dark Warrior having impaled his sword into his shoulder, but Randolph has also pinned his leg down. Finally, now he will be able to take care of him properly. With that, he calls out Priest Andrew and tells him to recite the prayer of exaltation and pray wholly for him and exalt only him. Earlier, as they were running towards the gate, Andrew wondered if it was really possible with just two of them. He did not wish to doubt him, but he couldn't hide his anxiety given the situation. Randolph explained that if they had enough time, they could have managed somehow with just the two of them, but with his abilities right now, destroying the warp gate within the time limit is impossible. Andrew was confused. Then, why did he want to go to the warp with just two people? He does not know that if they fail, they will not be able to save the lives or even the powerless brothers and sisters of the city behind them. Randolph asked if he truly wished to save everyone in the city, and Andrew immediately agreed. So Randolph told him to recite the prayer of exaltation on him. The prayer of exaltation is also called the final prayer. It is a sincere prayer. It is a sincere prayer offered for the goddess by the high-ranking priest who has touched the goddess, and a prayer that only a tiny number of true priests among the high-ranking clergy from the goddess's church can offer. If that prayer is recited for someone other than the goddess, then for a fleeting moment the target gains power akin to the divine authority of the goddess. At the same time, though, to offer the prayer of exhalation to someone who is not the goddess can also mean the priest's final prayer, a declaration of leaving the goddess's embrace. Andrew, a priest NPC, is a character born solely to serve the goddess. For someone like him, being told to leave her embrace would be a lot too painful. It would be worse than carving out his flesh, and a sense of emptiness would be like everything in the world disappearing. In other words, the prayer of exhalation is a skill that takes a priest's everything. It is the ultimate last technique, and right now he is telling this man to throw away the world he has been devoting his entire life to. Andrew demands to know how he knows about the prayer of exhalation. That is something he never told anyone except a few priests, and that person. Randolph notes that who he heard it from is not what matters. What matters is that he can use it. Andrew knows that if he knows about a prayer, then he also knows what it means to a priest. Randolph does, and even while knowing that he planned this on the assumption he would recite it for him, he thought sacrificing him alone had a higher chance of success than splitting the knight's strength. Additionally, this plan also accounted for the fact that he would not be able to refuse. From what he has heard, he never abandoned people. It is practically the same as forcing him to sacrifice himself by taking the citizens hostage. He can resent him, though Andrew just thanks him deeply from his heart. If he had not brought it up first, he would have never been able to say it with his own mouth. He would have lived trapped in his guilt forever, weighing his fate against the sacrifice of innocent people. So he truly thanks him. Naturally, Randolph was shocked. Andrew, an NPC who hands out a large portion of honor side quests, is actually a true priest, and one who exists in Pangania as a sage. More than any human he has ever met up until now, he respects him. The prayer of exhalation is activated, and he gains an amazing range of buffs, but it only lasts 2 seconds. That is all Randolph needs though. So he tells the warrior to watch closely. Back when he was his old self, this was a technique he would have never had to use on someone like him, As he raises his blade, the droplets of water seemingly stop and actually begin to rise up instead of falling down. The warrior begins to phase out of reality as Randolph unleashes the true power of the world-splitting strike. The sky itself clears away the rain clouds driven away by the sheer power, causing everyone to look up in amazement. Randolph walks to the gate as the prayer ends and cuts it up with only 1 second remaining, telling Andrew that he is the true hero who has saved the city. With this, the fourth main quest is over, and a city filled with people is saved thanks to the sacrifice of a great man. Meeting Night King Windhelm was something that happened years ago to Andrew. He bent down on his knees and begged him not to turn down the plea of this elderly priest to save his poor daughter. His beloved daughter, Asura, was a pitiful child that was transformed into an elder lich by a curse of dark magic. Even though she became a monster, he could not abandon the child he loved so much, so he hid her away underground, away from prying eyes. As she was gradually consumed by increasingly powerful demonic energy, he could no longer bear it alone, and he secretly began searching for someone who would help. What mattered was finding someone strong enough to purify Asura, someone who would value honor and was willing to keep a secret. Quite some time passed, and finally they met. Windhelm told him to lead the way, and Andrew happily obliged, opening the door to his daughter's chamber. Asura, who looked more demonic than human at the time, was there. Windhelm simply asked if that was her, and upon confirmation, he noted that he would purify her. Windhelm, the man who saved him and his daughter. He cannot help but be reminded of that man when he looks at the one before him. He has turned a catastrophic situation into a victory. He asks what his identity truly is. How was he able to use Night King Windhelm's swordsmanship? Randolph notes that it is because he is his successor after all. Andrew is shocked to think that he would receive aid not only from the master but also from the disciple. Well, this is quite the fateful connection. Suddenly, blood trickles at his mouth, and he begins to cough it up pretty loudly. Randolph rushes to him and asks if he's all right. Andrew explains that the aftermath of the prayer of exorcism causes the star energy to disappear, and it seems that the illness he was suppressing has flared up. Randolph now understands that he was using star energy to heal his sickly body all this time. His condition is not good either. It's not guaranteed, but he has no choice but to try this. He crouches down further and knows that he heard in the past that he once received aid from his master. Andrew confirms as such. He received a great debt of gratitude. Randolph also knows that in return, he issued him a letter of absolution. The Night King said to him that he would bear his sins himself, that he would use the letter of absolution he gave him on him. Andrew believes that there is no way another person can use the letter of absolution, but Randolph still tries, as he will forgive his sins. The letter of absolution is the rite of amnesty that high priests of the goddess's church can only issue once in their lifetime. According to lore, it is the authority to grant amnesty in the goddess's name for any sin other than the mortal sin defined by the church, the 10 evils. In the current game, absolution is an item used to remove an oppression penalty imposed on users who commit poor manners. It's issued on paper, but that is merely a shell to give the impression that it was issued. In truth, it has no physical substance. The contract with Dramuth is also the same. It is a kind of trust. Andrew slowly feels his star energy returning, but how can this be? The letter of absolution can only be used by the one it was issued to. How is this possible? Randolph thinks that with Dramuth it was possible, so he tried it just in case, and it actually worked, something he never expected. Andrew is well and truly shocked. It is possible he received a letter of absolution from another priest, but if that were the case, there's no way he wouldn't know about it. Surely he didn't obtain the letter of absolution through improper means. He should repent, as he will pray along with him. He should explain this. He is Windhelm, but he can't really reveal it, so he will just knock him out. Before he can do so, Isabella rushes in, asking if he is all right. Randolph smiles as she comes at the perfect time. He knows that apparently, everyone came here to find them, so they should be on their way. Andrew believes that their conversation isn't finished yet, and Randolph knows that he is pretty persistent. He should just think of it as the heavens coming to his aid. The fourth main quest's rankings are being updated, with Randolph's points still tallying well above the others. The day after the invasion ended, the Dryads returned to the forest via the teleportation book. He thanked them for their help, and the Dryad leader noted that it's only natural to help a friend. He should not forget that whenever a friend is in danger, they will always be there to help. For those who drink in the forest essence, the city air must have been poison, yet they showed not a hint of strain. After they left, the city immediately began rebuilding. Of course, since a destitute city that neglected the maintenance of the warp gate wouldn't have money, everything was carried out with Hudson's funds. The broken warp gate was to be repaired by hiring a kingdom alchemist, so for quite a long time, there would be no risk of the warp gate becoming corrupted again. Naturally, hiring an alchemist would also require funds, but there is no problem since they have Hudson. Andrew regained his star energy, but for now, he must recover. In the meantime, with no priest to care for the city's wounded, they decided to heal people using potions. Of course, buying that many potions would require an astronomical sum, but there is no problem whatsoever since they have Hudson's funds. Hudson himself knows that he feels like everything's been resolved with his money for a while now. Randolph told him that they couldn't do anything about it. The city has no money, so he should just take it as an act of service for Serengeti's sake. He asks if she's fallen asleep again, and Randolph confirms as such. Not long after the city was invaded, she was consumed by the curse once more. He also hands him something incredible, a top-tier elixir bearing a blessing. Even the goddess's church produces fewer than 10 a year. He tells Hudson to pour 1 drop every 2 hours. In a month, Serengeti's legs will completely regenerate. Hudson remains shocked and knows that he was indeed a player. But did he purchase this from the Golden Scale shop as well? Thanks to him, he's cleared the main Quest 4 as well. Looking at the newly updated Quest 4 rankings, if his deduction is correct, his name is Randolph, and Randolph is the legendary user who has raised most of the characters that have ever existed. He also wonders how he should call him now, but Randolph tells him to just continue calling him how he used to. Hudson also wonders if he's alright. He is grateful, of course, but spending such precious Golden Scale time to purchase something like this for him is a lot. Randolph tells him not to worry. He was just grateful to even enter the rankings, but he ended up taking first place, so he received quite a generous amount of Golden Scale time. Randolph opens the Golden Scale shop and sees that it is pretty essential for survival. If he had fallen out of the rankings, it would have been catastrophic. Moreover, the White King's Fang, the cursed dark magic tome of Eldritch Lich, and the Dragon Heart, all of these key items he used when crafting Windhelm's unique items, are here. It could be a mere coincidence that the same materials appear, but no matter how much he thinks about it, he can't imagine anyone other than him obtaining them, especially the White King. Even as Windhelm, he gave up on killing it and barely managed to obtain a single fang before he left. If a character dies, the equipment they were wearing does not disappear. Instead, it gets registered in the Golden Scale shop. The remaining Golden Scale time becomes far more important than he thought. He needs to gather as much as possible by progressing to the next quest. He tells Hudson that he will depart shortly to process the next quest. In the meantime, he asks him to look after Serengeti. Hudson believes that a problem has arisen. It appears that Weiser lent money on the condition that Serengeti would be sent to Siendatsi soon. Moreover, even one of the 8 heroes, Maxime, is backing the duchy. He has no way to stop him with his own strength. Randolph recalls the name Maxime, someone he hired during the Great Expedition, who led 300 men and made his name known across the continent. The leader of the Kaiser mercenaries is also Trash, who fled first from the swamp at the entrance of the demon world. He was going to clash with those 8 heroes eventually anyway, but it seems that he will be meeting one of them first. He tells Hudson to buy time until he returns. If he tells Weiser he said so, he will find a way to buy time. He will come back as quickly as possible. Serengeti must not be handed over to Siendatsi in the meantime. Serengeti also said that while he cannot fight, he is someone to rely on. It means that he trusts him, so he is counting on him. Hudson is shocked, but then a resigned expression turns to his face. Before they leave, they get dressed up, with Randolph noting that there was no reason to do this. These clothes are pretty nice. Still, he is grateful for the clothes he was provided. Weiser knows that it's a modest gift, so he should think nothing of it. He wishes them a safe journey. Randolph notes that he will be on his way. For the compensation he mentioned, he should talk to Hudson, who will handle it. Before leaving, Randolph goes to the mural that commemorates the fallen. He reads their names like James, Lucas, Jacob, or Zion. They are heroes of unparalleled valor who fought with utmost ferocity. May they eternally rest in peace. Though he is late, he expresses their gratitude to them all. With his Starbearer powers, those 500 knights who have fallen find their eternal rest. His honor increases by 50, and he gains an achievement through glory. The hatching rate of Heavenly Sprite Egg has gone up, and the Knight's Garden waypoint has been generated in the teleportation book. The guards go up to Weiser and ask what's with the reward the successor mentioned earlier. Weiser explains that he said he'd give compensation to the families of the knights who fell during the Great Expedition. They are surprised, and Weiser explains that he will give them a full 10,000 gold each. All of that enormous sum, he said, Hudson would pay for it. As they ride out, Isabella asks where they are heading now, and Randolph knows that he is going to do work that the star calls for, and he is going to bring back someone while he is at it. Someone pretty essential to strengthen his combat power, and to prepare for what's to come. It's another character of his that he left dormant, just like Isabella, the Supreme Lightning, Isaac. A few days later, they made their way to the underground dungeon, the Raven Graveyard. They swiftly defeated the dungeon boss, Corpse Raven, and obtained a clear reward, the evolved Corpse Raven Core, along with 9 hours of Golden Scale time. Randolph is pleased it dropped in one go, and Isabella asks what that is. He explains it's the material that will allow them to enter Cramdale, the city where Isaac is, the demonic city Cramdale. It's a city of monsters ruled by the White King, the guardian deity of the North. It is home to different kinds of demons and mythical beings possessing intelligence comparable to the White King. Even unknown things that seep through the cracks exist in such a place. It's known as an impenetrable fortress beyond the reach of the demon world, the ruler of the abyss, or even humans. Normally, humans cannot set foot in such a place, but if one uses the corpse raven core, then it's a different story. Randolph, under Isabella's pretty confused gaze, begins eating the core, and trait evolution immediately starts. The powerful core that was devoured is shattered by the giant's antibody energy. The curse and powerful mental contamination of the corpse raven was devoured and neutralized by the heart of the iron-blooded monarch, and due to the Beast Lord, the dominance of the evolved trait has increased. The trait of the glutton has evolved into Corpse Raven King. He now possesses Corpse Raven Summoner. The number of summons varies depending on his star energy, and he got some new drip too. He didn't think he could transform so perfectly. It's much more flawless than what a shapeshifter could imitate. The core is basically the medium for this disguise. If this breaks, his disguise will be revealed as well. Isabella asks what that appearance is, and Randolph notes that it's the disguise of the Corpse Raven. With this form, he should be able to enter Cramdale without issue, and he also says, caw, like a crow, confusing Isabella. Randolph guesses it's a side effect of the Corpse Raven, but Isabella thinks that he's just committed to the concept. She is in awe. Randolph gets annoyed and tells her to put this armor on. If she equips the full Michaela set, she can gain the wings of the Celestial Dragonborn, but other than the wings, the rest of her look is classified as demi-dragon. Either way, it doesn't matter since it's about being a monster. He's explained enough, so they should equip it and make their way to Cramdale. As they ride the ship, Isabella puts on the Michaela set, which adjusts appearance based on gender and level. She didn't know he could change his appearance to get into the hidden docks of Cramdale. How did he even know about this? Randolph notes that stars have their secrets, and Isabella notes that all of these monsters riding on this ship, they all seem like quite formidable beings. By appearance, they are level 7 or 8 monsters. It's a miracle the ship is running so smoothly with so many monsters. Randolph explains that only evolved monsters can enter Cramdale. The intelligence of monsters with evolved traits is roughly on par with a human's. Those creatures will never cause a disturbance in Cramdale's domain, simply because that's the rule of this place. Suddenly, the entire ship begins to shake as a level 9 giant grudge phantasm raid boss appears above the ship. It is hungry, and immediately tries to crush the ship to get the succulent meat within, but before it can even think about it, the skill Medusa's Eye activates. The raid boss is petrified in an instant. Isabella is shocked, and Randolph explains that Medusa is one of Cramdale's key skills of defense. No one shall cause trouble in Cramdale's domain. Those who break this rule will all die, no matter what. That is the rule of this place. That is why, unlike those low-level intelligence monsters, evolved creatures absolutely never break the rule. One of them apologizes. It appears one impurity has mixed into Cramdale's domain. It is nothing to worry about, so they should rest assured. This was just a low-level sewer rat. He also explains that they shall arrive shortly at Cramdale, so they should forget about this unpleasant incident and enjoy a peaceful day before they land. Randolph tells Isabella that where they're going is an invincible fortress ruled by monsters unlike anything they've seen. If their identity is discovered, they'll have to stake their lives, so she shouldn't let her guard down even for a second. With that, they get off the ship, and it seems like a pretty normal rural town. Different evolved monsters are telling others to visit the hot spring as they are offering half-price entry for today. Another from across the street calls out his own friendly hot spring, and Isabella notes that this is quite different from what she imagined. Randolph is surprised too. Just a year ago, when Windhelm came, there was no hot spring, and not even a single blade of grass in this barren place. So what have they done with it? Isabella also wants to ask one thing. Who is this Isaac he speaks of that he came to find? The Supreme Lightning, Isaac, is a notorious fugitive who has committed all kinds of crimes across the continent. On a smaller scale, he extorts nobles or priests of the goddess's church. On a larger scale, however, he robs supplies of his allies while pretending to be one of the city's mercenaries. He also assassinated key figures in the city and triggered monster wave incidents, causing them to freeze. He is the mastermind behind the mining city annihilation incident. In short, he's a dangerous fellow with an unprecedented history in Pangenia. Isabella notes that he seems quite proud of it for some reason. But anyway, she gets that he's a person who isn't even like a human. Randolph notes that, if he explains the circumstances of what he did back then, he watched Pangenia lose concurrent players multiple times, and yet took no measures despite the protests and warnings against the game. Of course, he didn't know that it wasn't a normal game back then. In any case, Since he is a guy who absolutely must be recruited for the great cause, they will do so. Isabella understands, however, since she knows he is a dangerous person. If his actions pose even the slightest stress to him, she will have no choice but to eliminate him. Randolph is pleased that he can count on her, and Isabella wonders what he looks like in the first place. Randolph explains that he has a lightning-shaped scar on his forehead. He has blonde hair, and the wings of a celestial dragonborn like her. However, when they find him cornering a cactus monster, he's holding a hot spring ad, and asking if he doesn't understand what he said. He is telling him this hot spring is the best. Isabella is a little confused. Someone so dangerous that there will never be another one like him, he said. Well, to her, it seems like he's just a very poor hot spring seller. Isaac sees them staring and asks what they want. What's with the constant staring of everyone around this place? But then sees Isabella, and wonders if she's a celestial dragonborn too. Randolph plays along, noting that to think they would encounter a demi-dragon in a place like this. It's been 150 years, hasn't it? Isabella plays along, noting that it has been 150 years since she's met a member of her own kind. Randolph knows that to face a fellow demi-dragon in this distant land, they simply cannot suppress their joy. Does he not agree? Isaac wonders what he is talking about. The corpse raven aside, the female is clearly human. Before he can utter those words, Randolph puts a hand on his mouth, as the Medusa's eye is watching them, so he had better watch his tongue. He wants to have a word with him for a moment. Since he is the great Isaac of the Supreme Lightning, Isaac removes his hand from his mouth and asks how he knows his name. Randolph knows that Medusa's eye is watching. It's best not to say needless things now, and not be reckless. His situation isn't that different from his. Just by possessing the wings of a celestial dragonborn, monsters recognize each other as monsters, but Isaac's eyes cannot be deceived. The reason is simple. He entered this place the same way Isabella did, but unlike Isabella, the equipment worn is concealed in form, and only the wings are visible, as they are hidden by a transparent cloak and potion. However, no matter how well concealed they are, in his eyes, the equipment Isaac is wearing is clearly visible because of the great sage trait. He whispers, even if the Michaelis set is hidden, he cannot deceive him. Should he choose, will he let him pass quietly, or will he die alongside him? Isabella immediately comes forward, and Isaac laughs, noting that he was startled for a moment after seeing his own kind for so long. After so long, they introduce each other, and Randolph notes they should move somewhere else and have a proper conversation about their own kind. Isaac wonders where to, and Randolph sees the discarded hot spring ad. He thinks that a place like that should be good enough. They make their way back to the hot springs, with Isaac dragging the cactus man too, and tell an old man that they have guests. He should prepare 2 rooms. These outsiders don't have anywhere in particular to go. The evolved goblin calls him an idiot. Didn't he tell him not to treat guests this way? He also asks about payment, but Isaac tells him to collect it from this green one. The cactus man speaks, noting that he already has reservations elsewhere, and this is clearly coercion. He asks the 2 great warriors before him to help. They immediately avert their gazes, Randolph noting that thanks to him, they will save money, and Isaac and Isabella know they're grateful, but somehow, it feels like they're the ones asking for his help. Randolph says that it's no ordinary hot spring, since it has low-grade Fairy Queen tears that stabilize and relax the entire body. He wonders, since when has it been like this before? It seems hot springs did not exist at all. Isaac doesn't know the details himself. All he knows is that the hot springs suddenly began appearing. Randolph has an idea but doesn't say it. In any case, it doesn't seem to be important now. Isaac asks why he sought him out, seeing that he knows his identity. It wasn't a chance encounter. Randolph notes that the stars guided him, and Isaac thinks that just by his speaking, he's telling him he became a star-bearer. How could a corpse even be one? Surely a star-bearer isn't such an insignificant creature. Randolph notes that he's hardly one to talk, roughing up hot spring guests like that, but Isaac immediately jumps at him, noting that it is because he came here and had to make a living somehow. It was unavoidable. Randolph will believe him for the moment, but whether he believes him or not, it doesn't matter. He came here to make an offer to serve under him for 1 year. If he does so, he will help him escape Cramdale and walk the continent again. Isaac wondered what he was going to say, but he turned away, having no interest in such things. He should leave and make sure they don't cross paths later. Randolph wonders if he's still thinking of hiding because of what happened back then. He destroyed the mining city with his own hands after all, when he was protesting against the developers through Isaac and engaging in all sorts of unsportsmanlike behavior. His notoriety had accumulated to the point where he couldn't set foot in any major city, and during his life as a fugitive, he chanced upon a village. The village chief there was a typical villain straight out of any fantasy story. He did petty evils like embezzling village development funds and bribing city council members to retain his position. He decided on employment under the chief, playing a role as a fixer, a mere underling serving a third-rate villain while concealing his strength as an evil minion. After several errands, however, surprisingly, this chief was different from the typical villain archetype. He was bold and absolutely merciless. When the third-rate villain, who was ambitious and actually incompetent, gained a subordinate who offered loyalty without a price, that villain finally became a demon. He was really grateful to Isaac, as never did he imagine that he, a mere village chief in this backwater hole, would become the ruler of a mining city. He promises him this: he shall enjoy wealth that he couldn't even finish in a lifetime, and an authority in the city that rivaled the king's. Isaac thought he would have to plunder this place dry, and then move on, but then he showed him the true aspect of the mining city, which worked on slave labor. The village chief wondered why he was surprised. Obviously, they rounded them all up from the surrounding cities. It cost them dearly to pay off the kingdom's guards, but they'll manage. From now on, they will rake in an absurd, astronomical amount of money. Suddenly, a small boy was carrying a bag of ores and was working right in front of them. The village chief immediately stopped him and crouched down, asking if he had a cold. The boy confirmed as such. Since yesterday, he felt a cold coming on. The chief said that the cold spreads to others and disrupts work, which would be a problem. He should rest now. It is a shame that it wasn't for those filthy germs. He could have used him longer. It is truly a shame. With that, he gutted the boy, as he could always have more offspring. Isaac realized that something had gone incredibly wrong. He made a terrible mistake, and he must set things right. After that, he tried to kill the chief and reform the city, but it was all for nothing. The kingdom that held the mining city was already rotten, and endless villainy continued to happen, so he triggered the monster wave to destroy the mining city itself. In that process, many people were swept away and died, losing their livelihoods. However, because of it, the endless cycle of evil was broken. Even if he hadn't been there, the mining city was destined to fall to villains, so he should stop confining himself to this place like an idiot. Isaac tells him to stop pretending as if he knows him, and Randolph knows that if the guilt is still there, then his method of atoning is wrong. Before Isaac can turn around and scream, Randolph tells him that he will eliminate the Demon King if he truly wishes to atone. Shouldn't he choose a path that helps the world to do that? He is gathering trustworthy allies who will never betray him. Isaac asks how he can trust him when they've just met, and Randolph knows that he trusts everything about him. He knows far more about him than he might think, perhaps more than he knows himself. Isaac scratches his head. He can't really understand a word of his, but fine. Setting aside everything else, he can't just expect him to believe nonsense like that. Like a mere corpse Raven King would be able to take down the Demon King. Randolph knows that, instead of an offer, he will make a wager. This place, Cramdale, is the city of monsters. Monsters determine their standings through their ranks. He will prove, in the manner of monsters, that he is no ordinary raven. He will go to the mysterious tower that exists in Cramdale and obtain the mystery there to prove his rating. The main quest, obtain a mystery, activates. He must acquire special mysteries. The quest concludes the moment he obtains his first mystery. What is Arcana? Arcana is an effect. When one plays games, they see a character's appearance or color shine. It's like how light turns green or red when one enhances it to a certain level. In Pangea, such distinctive features are called Arcana. While some rare Arcanas with special functions exist, even those are merely supplementary to a few abilities. Aside from the Guildmaster's Arcana, which serves as proof of authority, and the city ruler's Arcana over the city, ordinary Arcanas possess no abilities. In other words, Arcana is just for show. Because of this, it holds little meaning. But to monsters, it's different. Arcana represents the qualification of their species among them. For example, in the demon world, Arcana is like the mane of a lion. That's why the higher the rank of a monster's Arcana, the higher the status, as it goes from normal to raid boss. Of course, obtaining a good Arcana does not inherently strengthen predetermined abilities. However, strong monsters are typically born with good Arcanas, so it becomes a proof of strength too. One of the places where such high-rank Arcanas can be found is none other than the Hall of Arcanas existing in Cramdale. Countless monsters risk their lives daily to climb and prove their worth. The one who reaches the tower is of a higher rank. Isaac is surprised to hear this from him. A corpse raven like him would have his entire body torn to shreds and die within 30 minutes of attempting to climb the tower, but he should do whatever he wants. It just happens that the Hall of Arcana opened in 2 days, so if he really does prove his worth, he will become his companion, or slave, or whatever. 2 days later, they all gather at the hall, and a lot of participants are here as well. Isabella is surprised to see so many, and Randolph tells her that more than half are just spectators. By the way, is she sure she doesn't need to challenge the Hall of Arcana? Isabella says she already has one, so she doesn't need one. Randolph doesn't know about that, and Isabella shows him. She actually has Jormungandr scales, but why does she have something like that? He asks where she obtained it, and she explains that one day she dreamed of a massive serpent wrapping around her. After that, she obtained this Arcana. It has no abilities. Randolph is confused. Did she satisfy certain conditions while he was neglecting her? Jormungandr's scales are one of the 32 stars. It's an arcana that grants one the right to seek out and possess the Jormungandr star, which no one has found yet. The Desert Queen clearly recognizes the arcana that Isabella possessed, so she placed Isabella in the position of princess, keeping her at her side. If that's the case, the queen would never abandon Isabella. Perhaps his bitter connection with the Desert Queen has not ended just yet, but for now, it's best to focus on what's in front of them. The Hall Master tells them that the Hall of Arcanas will open soon, so all participants should come forward to complete their preparations. Those who have finished preparing should gather near the entrance too. Randolph sees that it's almost time, and tells Isabella that he will be going before he gathers up with everyone else. Randolph is surprised by the gathering of creatures, a true blood king, a mature leviathan, and even a minotaur king. These are calamity-class monsters. Just what kind of day is this? This sort of thing shouldn't be common. The Hall Master notes that it seems formidable individuals are challenging at this time as well. A seat among the 5 great warriors, the new pillars of Cramdale, could still be filled with new members, so they should all do their best. It seems the White King is also anticipating the arrival of someone with the qualifications to fill the seat. Randolph understands. For some reason, they're selecting new pillars, and that's why real monsters are gathering like this. Suddenly, a serpent-like creature tells him to move aside, or perhaps he is also gathering here to challenge the Hall of Arcanas. Randolph confirms as such, and they all immediately laugh at him. He should just go to some junk shop for an arcana more fitting for him, and not throw his life away recklessly. The serpent knows that it seems he does not understand his situation. This is a place where at least high-ranking or superior monsters challenge themselves. This corpse raven specimen seems to have been born somewhat stronger, but he is still just a raven. There is no place for low-ranking monsters like goblins and ravens. He understands the desire to obtain a higher rank arcana and escape his wretched fate, but he cannot exceed the limit of his species. He should know his place. The Hall of Arcanas opens, and a timer begins. Before they get teleported, however, Randolph tells the serpent that he talks too much for a worm, and he has also memorized his face, so he had better be prepared. With that, they are all teleported, and as expected, the interior is a separate dimension. Fortunately, nothing has changed since his last visit. The Hall of Arcanas was the only place where Windhelm couldn't obtain the highest-ranked award. At that time, since it was the first challenge ever, information was scarce. Because of that, he didn't realize the second challenge would be impossible, so he stopped. However, this time it's different. He has all the strategies in his head. He sees that his first opponents are skeleton soldiers with levels that match the challenger's level. All tools except equipment are forbidden, and all blessings and protections are stripped. From Windhelm's experience, he learned that 2 extremely harsh conditions were necessary to clear the Hall of Arcanas. The first is to enter the lowest possible level. All monsters in the Hall of Arcanas match the challenger's level, so if the challenger's level increases, the monster's level increases too. As the monster level rises, their patterns become more varied, and variables appear so that instant death techniques won't work. Of course, simply entering at low level is not sufficient. One must also surpass the standard stats of that level, with their overwhelming performance to meet these preconditions. Of course, with over 200 talents, the bonus stats added with each level up, and the absorbed specs of the 13 hidden traits, would have been impossible to even reach Cramdale. The second thing is class characteristics. He had a reason he needed the Corpse Raven's core to enter Cramdale, but there was another reason he wanted Corpse Ravens. That was because Corpse Ravens possess skills specialized in 1 versus many combat. Although Corpse Ravens are low-performance level 4 raid boss monsters, but against weaklings weaker than themselves, they boast top-tier performance. In addition to that, as a lower-rank monster type, a Corpse Raven's skills increase at a faster rate than the skills of a higher-rank monster. Thanks to the overwhelming numbers, even if he keeps defeating monsters of the same level, his character level will not increase, but his skill proficiency, which is his skill level, accrues separate experience, so it's possible to raise them quickly here. To put it simply, only he can reach the end of this place. Outside, Isaac gives a brochure to the cactus, again noting that he should distribute these instead of throwing them on the floor, who notes that he shouldn't do such a thing when he's a customer. Isaac doesn't know what he's saying, but he's hitting him correctly, right? A day like this, distributing these things is more effective. Suddenly the others talk throughout the Great Hall, as someone has already completed the first level, and it hasn't even been 3 hours. The first floor's lights lit up. Isaac is shocked, and Isabella comes around asking what it means when it lights up. Isaac asks if she really doesn't know anything about the Hall of Arcanas. When someone challenges the Hall of Arcanas and clears a floor for the first time, the building lights up like that. She can tell the progress just by that. Isabella understands, but why is everyone so surprised? There are monsters capable of clearing the first floor. Isaac explains that it's not the clear that surprises them. The first floor's clearance rate reaches 30%. That's a high figure if one considers the difficulty. So breaking through the first floor isn't particularly surprising. But in Cramdale's history, there has never been a clear this fast. It's faster than even the White King's speed. Isabella understands. The Starbearer seems to have done something extraordinary again. Isaac wonders why she's so sure it's him. No one knows who cleared it until they exit out. Isabella told him that it was unprecedented, so then it could only be him. Since they will be working together going forward, she will tell him, and he should remember it well. If the impossible becomes possible, it is only because the Starbearer willed it so. Imagine your own character hyping about you to your other character. Bro is just self-glazing using alt accounts. Inside a similar hall, one of the 4 great warriors, Gungai, is meditating. One of his subordinates tells him that people say, the lights in the Hall of Arcanas have just turned on. Gungi knows that this was pretty fast. He hopes this time, a being with a status worthy of the 5 great warriors reveals itself, because he does not wish to experience that same humiliation again. 2 years ago, they, the 4 great warriors, also known as the Pillars of Cramdale, were utterly defeated by just one human named Windhelm. He did not kill them. He must have done so in order to use them as bait to draw out the White King. The humiliation from back then still stings, no matter how much time has passed. He tells his subordinate to tell him when the lights on the 2nd floor come on, even if they are not at the 5 great warriors. If there is a strong person who ascends to the 2nd floor or higher, he will go and collect them himself. The subordinate sheepishly explains that the lights on the floors until the 4th have already turned on. Gungi is shocked. That person is challenging the same floor as the White King. He stays silent for a moment longer and tells his subordinate to tell all of the 4 great warriors to gather at the Hall of Arcanas immediately. Randolph has done a short work of the hall. The level of Corpse Raven summoning has reached its maximum, and the Corpse Raven summoning has transcended into advanced Corpse Raven summoning. With this, he has also cleared the 4th floor. As a reward, he can obtain the Transcendent Mythic Arcana Progenitor Giant. If he does not take it, he will proceed to another trial. The 5th floor portal opens. The system explains that it's based on the racial stats of the challenger. The current identified races of the challenger are Void, Giant, Druid, Celestial, and Corpse Raven. His racial stats are 55 points. He has met the tower's hidden final condition, so a hidden quest has arrived from the master of the hall. Would he like to clear the Hall of the Mythic Arcanas? Randolph is surprised to see this. From here on, it is unknown territory that even Windhelm never attempted. Furthermore, it's labeled Mythic, so the difficulty level will be anything but ordinary. It will surely provide an arcana of a higher grade as a reward, but there is no merit for him, a human, to take such risks. However, in this world, he is the only one who has discovered this, so that obsession is getting to him. How many players could pass up an unprecedented adventure that only they could challenge? There is no room for hesitation, so he accepts it. With this, he has activated a hidden quest. The achievement Adventurer Challenging Myth has been accomplished. The hidden monster, Awakened Skeleton Soldier, has also appeared. Monsters appearing in the Hall of Mythic Arcana randomly acquire the racial stats of the challenger. So, it has Druid and Giant. Randolph cannot know what kind of monster it is, so he should be careful. However, the Awakened Skeleton Soldier uses Druid's Light Spirit Arrow and unleashes a devastating attack on Randolph. He dodges, making his way onto a rock pillar, but then the Skeleton Soldier uses Giant's Grip and tries to grasp him. Randolph jumps out of the way and thinks that by acquiring his racial stats, it means that it acquired the racial skills too. Even for a hidden quest, the difficulty has increased way too much. As he pulls out his blade, Randolph is informed that all of the constellations of the 100 Stars Temple show interest in the hidden quest and have begun to watch him. He never really expected he would be watched by all of the constellations. Either they're incredibly curious about a hidden quest, or they come to enjoy watching him suffer, one or the other. He uses Star Pierce on the skeleton, which now evolves to level 2, and the energy of the star circulates through his body for 76 seconds. He wanted to enjoy this encounter as much as possible since it's a monster he has never beaten before, but it will have to end quickly. If he drags out this fight for too long, he doesn't know what kind of insult those constellations will hurl at him. The people outside of the hall are shocked. The lights on its top floor have turned on. Just who is it? He thought all of the monsters were already out. He must be the strongest and worst existence. He's definitely a guy vicious enough to transcend all species. He is bound to be an overwhelmingly horrible monster. Isaac is shocked. He wonders if he's really that raven. He climbed to the 5th floor, which is not reached even by the White King. Suddenly, though, everyone makes way as the 4 great warriors appear. The Great Earth Dragon notes that it's been a long time since they've all gotten together in one place like this. The Snake King notes it hasn't been that long. It's only been 2 years and 87 days. Medusa says nothing, and Gungi is not sure about what is inside, but right now, there is a monster inside who is challenging the final floor, which even the White King could not reach. He doesn't think a creature stronger than the White King or any human can exist in this world. However, there is a possibility of a being that rivals them. If another such outlier appears in this world, then the absolute rulers of Cramdale might become meaningless again. With that, they will have to welcome such a being, whether they like it or not, either as an ally or an enemy. Suddenly, the portal of the Great Hall opens, and out comes that serpent from earlier, who boasts that he is the one who will become the new great warrior. Everyone just kind of stares, pretty confused, and they all agree that this is definitely not him. But, as the serpent keeps talking trash, Randolph comes out too, silently, and puts a hand on him. He should get his body out of his sight. As he will count to 3, he immediately says, 3, and destroys the arcana of the mist dragon that the serpent possessed. As he told him, he would remember him. Randolph has gained the arcana of Eternal Randolph, an arcana given to those who have survived alteration. It is impossible to interfere with, it is indestructible, it has a permanent duration, and it is also now a hidden trait, and it can permanently destroy arcana of a lower grade than Eternal Randolph. Because he has also completed the quest, he has also gained a level up, along with the praise of the constellation. Out in his meditation chamber, the White King smells something interesting, a scent of high status that he has never smelled before. This is really intriguing. This is the master of Cramdale, the White King himself. After Randolph cleared the 5th floor, the tower stands in awe at his choice to see himself fully realized. He has obtained the cheeky challenger who became myth itself. His fame increased by 500, and the tower promises his challenge will be recorded forever in the halls. As a reward, he has obtained the out-of-specification grade arcana, Eternal Randolph. Since there are no further rewards to be obtained from the tower's reward list has been replaced by the reward list of the 100 Stars Temple constellations. Randolph couldn't tell exactly what these were, and he doesn't need to decide on them right away. More importantly, he was focused on this new ability that also counts as a hidden trait. He has a colorless, odorless, and shapeless arcana. He can't see it, but he can definitely feel it. For now, he should head back outside. The serpent wails as he demands to know what Randolph did to his arcana. It is impossible to think that his status is being denied by a raven. Before Randolph can even think of killing him, the serpent turns into stone as the Medusa's eye has been activated. The Great Earth Dragon explains that there will be no disturbances tolerated within Cramdale. He says that this is the law of the place established by the White King himself. All who disobey are his enemies. So, is he an enemy or an ally? Randolph tells them that it depends on what they do next. Gungi thinks that he is arrogant to be like that in front of him. However, he has abilities that cannot be ignored. He explains that he has no intention of making an enemy of him. He wishes to inform the White King of the birth of a man with such remarkable abilities. He asks that he come with him. Randolph agrees. He shall gladly accept that invitation. However, the condition is that his companions over there will come along, though they do not seem that pleased. As they make their way to the White King's castle, Isaac wonders how he got in this situation. Randolph hopes he is not going back on his word, as he said those things in the past. So naturally, he is coming with him. Isabella whispers, wondering if there's any need for him to personally face the White King, and Randolph knows that there's no reason to refuse, since he was invited, and there's something he wants from him too. After they arrive, Gungi pushes the door open, revealing the White King's residence. The 4 great warriors bow their heads down, and the White King asks if the raven behind them is the one who reached the top of the Hall of Arcanas. He looks quite shabby, but he is pretty interesting. Randolph approaches and remarks that the White King has no manners for a first meeting, shocking absolutely everyone in the room. The White King is surprised as well. He says, "Manners, huh? Do I really need to show any?" He unleashes his aura, and as expected of a final boss, it's a pressure so overwhelming that Randolph's heart would give out, if not for his hidden traits. Monsters in Pangenia can level up just like players. Experience can be gained by killing other monsters or defeating players and NPCs. The difference from players is that there is no upper limit to a monster's level. Naturally, leveling isn't easy since they must risk their lives every time, but in theory, as long as they survive, they can keep leveling up indefinitely. Furthermore, a level 11 monster is equivalent to a level 10 1-star monster, and a level 12 monster is a powerhouse on par with a level 10 2-star player. The White King, before his eyes right now, is someone much stronger than that. Randolph's entire defense traits activate, as the White King is level 15, and now that Windhelm and the Demon King are gone, this guy is the undisputed final boss of the world. He must stay sharp because someone at his current level will be torn apart by a single breath. However, he holds the line. He asks if it's not basic courtesy to show manners to a guest. Isaac is shocked. He's up against such pressure, and he does not back down at all. Gungi himself is shocked too. He knew he was no ordinary man, but to think he would not even flinch under such pressure. Could it really be that he is a powerhouse on par with the White King? The White King begins to laugh, as he is truly a strange fellow. He is truly worthy of being brought before him by the great warriors. The White King, he came to know, was someone who wouldn't spare a single glance at anything that did not pique his interest. He wielded fierce possessiveness over what he claimed as his, and burned with a competitive spirit toward the strong. He was like a wild beast that lived purely on instinct. When they fought, the White King stopped it himself, as he feared that there wouldn't be a single scrap of Cramdale left at this rate, and he did not wish for his home to disappear. Windhelm told him that it's not really his home, and the White King left, as he really was a strange fellow with no sense of morality. He took out a tooth, and told him that it's a reward for not killing the 4 great warriors. He was an unpredictable being, who would give anything to an opponent he liked. In other words, to talk to him, one must first pique his interest. If he is calling him a strange fellow now, it's the highest praise he can give. It means he has succeeded in piquing his interest for now. Randolph tells him his name, and the White King analyzes him. He can't see his form, but he can feel the arcana he possesses. He confirmed it through Medusa's eye the moment his arcana destroyed the serpent's arcana. It was a strange experience. Did the Hall of Arcanas give the authority to destroy arcanas altogether? The arcana he possesses is feeling out his arcana too. It is an indicator of a species standard. The fact that he obtained such an unheard-of arcana means that his species baseline is fundamentally higher. A higher species baseline doesn't mean it's necessarily stronger, but if he cleared even the final mythic trial, he is definitely not someone to underestimate. That's why he is not confident in being able to suppress his urge to fight him. Randolph tells him that if they fight, Cramdale will be wiped off the map. He shouldn't do anything rash. The White King agrees. He can't destroy his own land, but he cleared the Hall of Arcanas, right? So, can he tell him what the trial of the hidden floor was like? Randolph knows that he wouldn't want to give it for free, and the White King understands, so he should name his price. Randolph explains that there is something he is looking for here. He wants his cooperation as the master of Cramdale. The king thinks that it's a more trivial request than expected. He should feel free to look around for whatever he wants. No monster here would dare to treat him poorly now that he has joined the 5 great warriors. Randolph tells him that he has no interest in such a position. Besides, why should he serve under him? The White King explains that he is underestimating something. A warrior is not a rank beneath him. It's standing equal to him. They simply chose to respect him. Randolph knows these guys are weaker, but they are all level 12 powerhouses. In short, it means out of specification. Powerhouses share the same title, and refrain from causing unnecessary trouble in his territory. Naturally, that's the White King's way of thinking, handpicking the 5 great warriors as loyal powerhouses to bolster his strength. Anyway, he can't refuse, so he accepts and becomes a new pillar of Cramdale. Somewhere else, Randolph seems to be talking with someone, who asks what reason he has for requesting a private audience with her. Randolph knows who she is. She is the master of the Necro Valley, and the king of the dead. There is something he wants to find in Cramdale, so he requests her cooperation. She refuses, as she has no time to waste on such trivial matters. He is better off asking the other warriors. Randolph knows that he was promised cooperation in the name of the White King, but the Snake King wonders what he could be searching for to invoke his name, and why her of all people. Randolph explains that the thing he has been searching for in this land is her. He likes her, and wants to be invited to her sanctuary. The other 2 are simply stupefied to see what is going on. The Snake King immediately recoils. She doesn't want to even think that he joined the 5 great warriors with impure intentions of coveting someone like her. She did not take him for such a type, but he's got a lot of nerve. If he thought it would be that easy, he is dead wrong. Randolph tells her that she shouldn't talk nonsense. He heard rumors that she has a deep appreciation for the arts. That's right, he has been in search of an artist like her. He heard her sanctuary is lined with exquisite works of art, right? Would she care to show him the corpse art she keeps there? Just before leaving the Knight's Garden, Randolph requested from Andrew a letter of absolution, as he thinks he will have some personal use for it. Andrew noted that, as much as he would like to hand it over, the rules don't allow him to simply give it away. Randolph expected as such, since it's a quest reward, he can't get it for free. He calls Andrew a damn NPC accidentally. Anyway, he is not asking for it for free. He will make a proposal. He will bring back his daughter, Andasar. Back when he was playing Pangenia as Windhelm at Andrew's behest, he purified his daughter Andasar, who had been turned into a lich. Purifying her was one thing, but having once transformed into an elder lich, she could not fully return to a human body. Caught between 2 forms, never fully monster nor human, she passed away not long after, and to make things worse, her body was stolen too, taken from her father's Andrew's side once again. Later, when he arrived at Cramdale in Windhelm's body, he learned that the Snake King had obtained her body. Randolph tells him that he knows where her body is located and will take responsibility and bring it back. Of course, the condition is that he gives him a letter of absolution. He will also need an additional letter of absolution to receive Andasar, one to retrieve Andasar, and one as a reward. Randolph now tells the Snake King that he really wanted to see her work, so he wants to be invited to her sanctuary. The Snake King immediately perks up, as she didn't know he was so interested in art. She will gladly take him there. In the outskirts of Cramdale, the castle of the Snake King resides, and as they go in, the Snake King notes that he should make himself at home and not mention it. A monster who appreciates art is always welcome here. Isaac is simply stupefied. First the White King and now the Snake King's sanctuary. He's having all this experience he never imagined in a single day. Isabella tells him to get used to it, as unimaginable things will keep happening. He's surprised she's so calm, but she served under the Starbearer longer than anyone, so she is used to it. He shouldn't forget she's second in command. Isaac is also confused by the Snake King. He thought she was a madwoman who turned an entire city into a field of corpses, but she doesn't seem particularly hostile. As she opens her inner sanctuary, they see that her art is just a bunch of corpses and skins strewn together in different ways. She asks how it is. It feels strange to say it, but she is quite fond of these pieces. Naturally, Isaac and Isabella are scared, and naturally the Snake King takes this as an insult, wondering how he dares to insult her art. Isaac immediately explains that this was not his intention, and he apologizes. Didn't she say disturbances are forbidden in Cramdale? The Snake King doesn't care. A great warrior holds the same standing as the White King, so killing one of them won't be a problem at all. However, Randolph knows that this is the true work of a true master. It's naturally beyond the grasp of the ordinary. He feels it, the overwhelming emotional resonance her art carries. He begins clapping and tells her that it's only natural that such a fool would not understand. She shouldn't mind that the commoner, and introduce him to the pieces instead. The Snake King immediately perks up and follows after him, noting that she will introduce him right away. She gives him a tour, showing off all of her grotesque pieces of art. But as they walk through, he sees another hidden part of the sanctum and asks what this is. The Snake King explains that it's still unfinished, and there's no reason not to show it. It's an Elder Lich body she obtained by chance. She was attempting to craft a Dullahan using this rare Elder Lich body. Randolph recognizes it's Andasar, Andrew's daughter. The Snake King explains that it's a material she cannot use, as it won't stabilize no matter what. Only a fully purified corpse can be turned into art. For some reason, this one won't leave its frenzy state no matter what. Even when she tries to work on it just a little, the energy goes wild, just like this. That is why it's out of reach for now. What's the point of a material she cannot use? Randolph asks if he can have it if she's not going to use it, and the Snake King agrees. If he can handle a corpse that even the Snake King cannot, then she will gladly hand it over. Randolph is glad she would part with it so readily, and unleashes his arcana onto it. The reason the Snake King failed to stabilize the corpse is likely because Andasar is no ordinary one. Andasar exists between two forms, neither fully human nor monster. The evil deeds committed as an Elder Lich must have accumulated as an oppression stat when she reverted to her human form. When human-type characters accumulate oppression, they fall into a frenzy state, and various penalties are imposed on that character. In other words, Andasar's current frenzy effect can only be lifted by reducing her oppression stat. That oppression stat is likely to be able to be lowered with a letter of absolution. Sure enough, the frenzy state is removed, and the Snake King is shocked. She knew he was an impressive man, but to purify a material that even she couldn't handle so effortlessly, could it be that he isn't a mere art critic but also a skilled craftsman? Is he an artist walking the same path of corpse art as her? She is the master of the Necro Valley, the city of the dead. The Snake King, walking the path of corpse art, was always lonely because corpse art was so profound that few people could understand it. Occasionally, there were brilliant critics who would understand her art, but that was all. They could not soothe her fundamental loneliness. Critics could not share in her anguish nor in her joy of creation. The thought that she might never find someone to share those things with was horrifying to her. The raven before her eyes, naturally, is the only existence in such a world, and she is immediately fangirling over him. It has been a month since monsters invaded Earth, and the Dimension Warriors have revealed themselves. An online community has emerged that has gathered a vast amount of data regarding the situation. A massive dinosaur-sized community that achieved the feat of 1 billion total visitors in just a single month. The interdimensional community. The renowned Dimension Warriors stayed in the interdimensional community themselves to post replies, and they were providing detailed guides on how to deal with future threats to the world and situations where monsters might appear. As a result, it has now reached a point where countries around the world recommend it. In the face of an unknown fear, the information from the interdimensional community became one single hope and an absolute guidebook. The owner of that community site, which is treated now like a religion, is the Master. He began his activities even before the first monster invasion, and has recruited many warriors since then. Thanks to that, he has now formed the largest faction among all players. Afterward, using that power, he negotiated with the heads of the world's leading corporations and politicians. People know he is a resourceful man who expanded the interdimensional community with the support of VIPs, and he is also a man called one of the 8 heroes among players, the War God Master. In a meeting, someone asks him if Grancia is absent from this meeting as well, this being one of the other 8 heroes, the Lightning Emperor, Dark Star. Another one, a woman called Black Demon, tells him that it's not like they came all the way to America because they have nothing better to do. The Corpse Queen Banhai tells her not to mind her. It's not like she has not done something like this before. Lucifer notes that, more importantly, the man named Randolph, who is presumed to be William by all of them, has once again overturned the rankings of the main quest. Another of the 8 heroes, Maxime, wonders if they are going to keep leaving him be. Master notes that they will deal with him eventually, but not right now. First of all, they must prepare for the real invasion that will begin soon enough. If the previous invasions were nothing more than just scouts, the moment the dimensional shift opens, the full-scale invasion will begin. When that time comes, people will truly realize that neither the police nor the military can protect them, and that the only saviors they have are the players. Now the ones they must obey are not corporations or governments, but the players. Soon, the world will change, and they will be the new masters. Snake King immediately asks Randolph what kind of magic he used, with Randolph thinking that, unlike humans, monsters seem to be unaware of the frenzy state. If a monster accumulates evil deeds, its reputation would only go up, so it would not fall into a frenzy state in the first place. He turns around, noting that asking about techniques is a taboo among artists, so he will think about it, with the Snake King hoping for his positive consideration. Randolph also notes that, as promised, he will be taking the artwork, but he also wonders where the head went. He feels like he should return it to Andrew without any missing parts at the very least. He asks the Snake King about this, as he knows an artist like her would not have thrown away such a precious material. Snake King agrees she would have wanted the complete material, but she really had no choice. The head was already gone the moment she found the body. She followed the same energy to find its head, and even went down to the basement of Cramdell, but she had to give up because entry was impossible there. Randolph is surprised to hear that. Impossible even for one of the pillars like her. She confirms as such. Within Cramdell, no one on the continent can surpass them but the Star Guardians. Since they have a non-aggression pact with them, they had no choice but to step back. Randolph is confused, as he knows those guys never leave their territory. So why are they here now? The Snake King does not know the details, but it seems the special hot spring in Cramdell has something to do with the stars. However, because a unique great arcana is spread out like a veil, it seems they can't even get close to the star and are just killing time waiting. Time passed like that, and it ended up looking like the basement of Cramdell was occupied by the Star Guardians. Thanks to that, the White King is pretty displeased by this. Even the White King is being patient, which means the pact with them is no light matter either. It is a shame, but he should give up on the head. Randolph, however, thinks that this is a rather simple problem. It's a problem that will be solved if he just clears them out, right? She should go ahead and tell the White King that the uninvited guests in Cramdell will be cleared out by him. One day later, in the Cramdell basement, 2 of the Star Guardians are speaking with their leader, Phoenix, and Dramut, who seems to have a few people on his head. The leader asks if this is true. Can they really get rid of that arcana? That corpse raven can do such a thing? Will he take responsibility for those words? If it is a lie, there will naturally be a fitting price to pay. A few hours ago, at the hot spring in the center of Cramdell, Dramut met with Randolph and saw him transform, thinking that an ability to perfectly transform into a monster exists. Is he truly human? Besides, how did he know he was here? Randolph showed him the evolved monster core and noted that he heard some Star Guardians were here, so he asked the administrators. More importantly, the reason they are gathered here is because of the 33rd star. Weren't there 32 though? Dramut confirms as such. There are exactly 32 stars made from the body fragments of Leia, the goddess of the earth. This star is presumed to be from Pina, the goddess of the sky. With the appearance of this 33rd star, which did not exist before, the Star Guardians are taking turns guarding this place. Randolph knows about Pina. She is the younger of the twin goddesses. The continent is the surviving land that goddess Pina floated into the sky. The original ground was eroded by the entire abyss. The premise was that the demon world was below it. He asks if her becoming a star means she is also dead, and Dramut confirms that. The Star Guardians gathered here to confirm that, but they are having a hard time because of a unique great arcana that is spread out like a veil. Randolph understands, but this is why he came to find him. He wants him to take him to the Star Guardians. as he can destroy the arcana and help them. Dramut naturally did not believe him, and even laughed in his face. The arcana are like the truth itself. How can he destroy them? Randolph was not laughing at all, making Dramut see that he actually meant it. So he takes responsibility, and says yes. He cannot believe it himself either, but this guy is not the type to make empty boasts. The leader agrees, but even if such a thing were true, for what reason is a raven helping them? Randolph tells him that there is something he needs to find there. He just thought it would be better to get them out quickly, so it's a win-win. The Star Guardian leader understands that if that is so, then he has no quarrel with his idea. However, why are they here too? He told them specifically not to come near the star. Why is the White King here? The White King tells him to rest assured. They will not approach further. They just want to watch something that the incompetent, uninvited guests here will never dream of. Their new main pillar of Cramdell is going to take care of it. How could he not be interested in it? Naturally, their animosity grows and grows around Randolph, and he expected it to turn into a mess. This is pretty annoying. He should finish this quickly and just send them away. He puts his hand on the arcana, and can see that it is definitely one, even if it looks like a big wall. If what's blocking the way is arcana, no matter how high grade it is, it's no problem, as his arcana of Eternal Randolph can destroy other arcanas. He also sees that upon destroying the first wall, a main quest will begin. He is concerned about it, but he can't back down now, so he has to go for it. He uses his arcana on the wall arcana, and in a few seconds, it completely shatters. With this, the arcana that was blocking the wall has been dealt with, and he can see in the distance the 33rd star that those Star Guardians were talking about. Now that he has found the star, he just needs to find out what the main quest is. However, it does not take him long to find out, as he sees a dark rider approach in the distance. Though the first wall has been destroyed, Pangenia's collapse advances further. The star containment has been destroyed, and Pangenia's collapse rate, as a consequence, has increased to 10%. Randolph's main quest is now to eliminate the King of the Dimensional Rift. Upon the King of the Dimensional Rift letting out his aura, Isabella screams out for Randolph, along with the Corpse King, who asks if he is alright. Randolph himself surely thought he had killed him during the Demon World expedition, but he actually managed to sneak in here. This is Aram, the first King of Hell, the gatekeeper of the Demon World. He is pleased to see that the arcana that was suppressing them all this time has disappeared. They should prepare to cross over to the Earth dimension. Once he takes Pina's heart and recovers his strength, he will open the dimensional rift. They will be at the front of the end times. With this, the main quest has begun. If the King of the Dimensional Rift is not eliminated within 30 days, all rifts will open, ruin will appear, and the complete erosion of Pangenia and Earth will proceed. Outside in the real world, the sky darkens and begins to redden aggressively. The Master is immediately informed that the collapse rate has reached 10%. It seems the first dimensional rift will shortly begin. The Master, however, knows that there is no need to rush. There is no way a Demon King would appear in just a first rift, so their preparations are a lot more than sufficient. Therefore, they will wait with peace of mind until the city is caked in blood, and when the people cry out for the warriors to save them, that's when they will step in. However, his little sadistic plan is ruined upon the system informing him that the raid on the King of the Dimensional Rift is in progress. Shocking him, the rift has not even opened, and the raid is in progress as they try to digest what on earth is going on. Naturally, Randolph and the others are fighting adamantly. Ahram is shocked. Such things could not have been possible before. How could he be defeated so easily? It is not possible for him to crumble so helplessly like a worm. In Pangenia, there are 3 beings commonly referred to as the strongest: the Demon King of the Demon World, the White King of Cramdell, and William of the Continent, with the exception of Satoru Gojo, of course. It's a common joke that only these 3 can kill one another. However, this story is limited to the races existing in Pangenia, not monsters, NPCs, nor users. Among the beings created by the system solely to protect the stars, there exists another monster that rivals those 3, and it is this very being, the leader of the Star Guardians and the strongest among them, the Giant of Evil Extermination. Randolph is impressed to think that the Valyrian Arcana was actually suppressing Ahram, but thanks to those Star Guardians, things have become a lot less troublesome, especially that one, the Giant of Evil Extermination, who was in charge of Wilhelm's first star. Now that he is an ally, he is one of the most reliable ones to have. The White King thinks that this is a shame, since that big guy finished the job far too easily. It will be difficult to witness his skills after all. Randolph knows that he's testing him, and notes that he said he would only help as far as destroying the Arcana. The White King is impressed. This is a cunning fellow despite his feathery appearance. He did not fully believe his bluff after all. Suddenly their conversation is interrupted by Ahram, who screams out, damning the Star Guardian. The great plan was right before their eyes, and yet a wretch like him, he dares to defy. Before he can finish, The giant smacks him right in the head with his mallet and notes that he is a persistent bug, indeed. However, now he shall sleep forever. Ahram seems to be completely defeated, but a memory comes forth from deep inside his mind. He was given a portion of someone's power. In his stead, he had to cross over to Earth from the other dimension. That would be the first step of their great plan. He must eliminate something from Earth. Ahram thinks that his luck was poor to think that he would have to encounter such a powerhouse and have the invasion be destroyed like this. However, it is not all lost. His death will still have meaning. If he eliminates those who interfere with the plan right here, he unleashes an absolutely gigantic concentration of mana, creating a black hole with everyone almost being sucked in, with the weaker demons and zombies being pulled in. The White King does not even move and thinks that this is rather dangerous. Is this guy planning to self-destruct or something? He tears open a spatial portal and tells Randolph to withdraw. He should gather the other pillars and leave this place at once. Randolph asks about the other Star Guardians, but the White King tells him to give up on them. With a mass of mana at that size, it will absorb everything and then collapse on itself. Randolph knows that if a being like the White King says this is dangerous, it is. He, however, cannot leave the new star and Dramut behind. The White King tells him to hurry, as there is no time. They have to get out of here before that thing consumes them all. Randolph thinks there has to be a way that he can overcome this situation without casualties, and that's when he gets an idea. Among the 100 rewards offered directly by the constellations after clearing the main quest, there is the treasure of a constellation specialized in sealing energy. With this, it just might be possible. He selects it as a reward for clearing main quest 5, and the White King asks what he is doing. Randolph says that he is doing what the White King wanted him to do. Earlier, he said he wished to see his skills, so he would stop the explosion. He should just sit back and watch. He rushes in, with Dramut trying to stop him and telling him that it's too dangerous there, and he should leave him alone to die. However, Randolph charges in at the black hole and unleashes the item right in the middle of it, activating the legendary sealing tool, the Circlet of Restraint. The giant cannot believe what he is seeing. That powerful energy is being absorbed. Sure enough, it disappears, and the circlet stops above Ahram, sealing itself tightly around his head. Randolph, however, is not done. Randolph shrinks him until he can hold him up in his palm. With this, the main quest, Eliminate the King of the Dimensional Rift, has been completed, and the sky in the real world returns to normal, with no monsters even thinking of appearing. The Master, naturally, is annoyed beyond his wits. One step. They had just one step to make until the world was theirs. He had recruited dozens of warriors in preparation for this day, but it ended without him even being able to swing his blade once. He will not. No, he cannot forgive something like this. The giant is shocked to see that a corpse raven blocked such an explosion, and the White King no longer doubts his skill. This is no longer just curiosity. He sincerely wants that corpse raven. Randolph's companions rush to him, but he is more interested in what his status is. He levels up at once. The reward experience is not bad, and he also got the sealed Holy Grail of the Goddess, which can only be unsealed by an honorable high priest. Ahram, who is in his hand, tells him to let him go. What on earth is he planning to do with him? Put him in a jar or something? Randolph is impressed by how small Ahram got after being sealed so easily. It was only possible because the giant of evil extermination had weakened him, but even so, this is an incredible ability. Is it perhaps a holy relic of heaven's equal? The great sage? Well, it doesn't matter. It was of great help. Now he just needs to find Andasar's head, and this is over. He asks if he has seen the head of a Dullahan named Andasar, and Ahram just spits on his mask, noting that he'll never tell him. Randolph tightens the circlet, causing Ahram to wince in pain, until he actually gives Andasar's head back to him, noting that he only kept it in case he could ever turn it into an undead. Randolph understands Ahram is the king of the dead after all. That means he can control the dead too. It must have gotten mixed in while he was gathering corpses to create an army of the dead. He gives it to Isaac, and before they can talk more, the giant approaches, noting that from the barrier to this, he now owes him a great debt. He offers his gracious thanks to him. Randolph did not expect that there would come a day when he would receive thanks from this guy. Naturally, if he knew that he was Wilhelm, he'd probably kill him on the spot for being an idiot who could not even protect his own star. It's best not to reveal his identity. Randolph tells him to forget it. He only did it because there was something he wanted to. If he is grateful, he should just give him the star. The giant naturally denies it but notes that, unlike a certain idiot who lost his star, he is quite useful. He will repay that debt someday. As for the star, they will decide its fate after they have retrieved it. Randolph thinks that it's a pity. He would have liked to take the star if he could, but he can't afford to make enemies of those guys, so he will just hand it over. Before the giant can grab it, the star itself just zooms past his hand and arrives right in Randolph's face and begins showing him something. When Wilhelm fought the Demon King, and the Demon King unleashed his entire aura to take Wilhelm's body as a new vessel. Wilhelm fell into a pit where the waiting hands of the dead awaited him. However, Pina caught him, as she would have never imagined he would be able to grow this much without the divine authority of a goddess. If his physical body is completely stolen like this, not only this world but every connected dimension may crumble into destruction. So she begged him. She did not beg Wilhelm. She begged the being from beyond the dimension connected to the Night King. All she can do now, in exchange for her very life, is to buy a fleeting moment of time. She prays that he can one day return here and save the world. That is why she appeared before Wilhelm and saved him from the Demon King. Some returned for their own desires, some for the sake of their bonds, and others for their own goals. Everyone has returned to this place for their own different reasons. She hoped that, of all people, he would remain the one who loves Pangania. Randolph falls on one knee, knowing that this was Pina's memory, and the giant approaches, noting that he has been chosen. Pina's star, that star, has chosen him. The twin goddesses can be seen as one in a broad sense. Therefore, they are now family. The White King doesn't care about their sentimental hogwash. He should not try any funny business with them. The 5 great warriors. The giant tells him not to interfere in this matter. The moment the star recognized him, he became a star guardian. If it's possible for someone like him to override a qualification granted by the goddess, then he will cut off his own head. The White King notes that the goddess does not matter right now, since he has genuinely decided what he wants. Isaac wonders if they should be getting out of here as soon as possible. With Isabella confirming the situation has become complicated. Randolph sees that, on one side, he is called over by the Snake King, telling him that he should be standing here with them, and he should come over quickly. Honestly, anyone would have folded. On the other hand, Dramut calls over Randolph too, telling him that it's rather dangerous over there, so he should come across to safety. The giant and the White King continue their bickering. Randolph knows that they are all putting on quite a show, so why are they deciding where he should go? The White King notes that he agreed to become a warrior, and Randolph tells him the situation's changed. The giant tells him that being a guardian is like a destiny he cannot deny. But Randolph wonders, according to whose will, if they really wish to take him, they should prove to him which side benefits him the most. Randolph returns to the White King's palace, and he finds him rather ridiculous. He cannot believe he would haggle over a main pillar seat like this. Randolph knows that if he doesn't like it, then he will just quit. But the White King tells him to come back, as he never said he didn't like it. So was he satisfied with the Star Guardian's proposal? Randolph says it was all right. The giant told him that, as a reward, they shall grant him a title, which is not bad at all. If he is granted a title, it will be much easier to obtain clues about the stars. The White King thinks that it was a petty reward fitting for those petty bastards. He's different from them, however. If he joins him, whichever city he desires, he will give it to him. Of course, he did say wherever, but the cities owned by the Aran Empire, as well as the cities in the southern continent protected by the Black King, are naturally excluded. Randolph is shocked by this offer. This means that he will give him any city, excluding only 2 places, even if he has to conquer them by force. Even though the Black King lost to the White King in the power struggle, he still rules over the south, and Arhan is the only empire on the continent. Excluding those 2, there is no faction capable of defending against an invasion from these monsters. If he makes his decision on any city besides those 2 places, he can use the power of those monsters. This is an exceptional condition. It means that he acknowledges him quite a bit. But if he thinks about it the other way around, the White King also considers him that much of a threat, meaning he won't hand him over to anyone else. Randolph guesses that this is the end of the negotiations. If he shows any more hesitation here, he will lose their trust, so he accepts the proposal. After accepting the White King's proposal, things progress pretty quickly. The White King officially announces Randolph as a main pillar, and with that, he officially becomes an irrevocable member of Cramdell. Things will naturally be awkward with the Star Guardians from now on. Since the giant is a little mad that he refused, Randolph decides not to worry about it. Finally, the body of Andasar, which was his original objective, is handed over by the Snake King, and preparations are quickly made to return it to Andrew. Before he leaves, the White King and the other great warriors come to see him off, with Randolph noting that it is quite burdensome for them to see him off like this. The White King tells him that he hopes he will finish what he needs to do, so they can quickly see each other again. The Snake King also waves him off. Now that Randolph has received the White King's recognition, he activates the warp granted as an authority for the 5 great warriors. With the waypoint being generated in Cramdell, they go back to the other world and get on a carriage. Isaac says he expected that Randolph was human, but Randolph tells him that nothing's changed, whether he's human or not, and that he should not forget his promise to serve him for an entire year. Isabella also wonders where he put Ahram, and Randolph rips out a bit of his hair as he explains that he put him away in there for a bit, because he was getting pretty loud. After all, He decided to carry him around because he would have some use for him at some point anyway. It appears they arrive at the knight's garden without even noticing, while they are talking. However, upon getting inside, the city's atmosphere seems off somehow, a lot more unusual than before. Hudson was working hard to rebuild the city, so what happened? However, when they reach the main plaza, they see something horrifying as a bunch of corpses are strung up after being lynched. Randolph can recognize a few of them. Some were knights, and some were mothers grieving for their sons at the pillar he blessed, which now stands absolutely destroyed below them, making a mockery of those who died and those who have lost their lives here today. With Andrew also there praying, Randolph asks Andrew what happened in a cold, calm voice. Andrew immediately turns around and is a bit glad to see that he has finally returned, but he cannot stay here, and he should hide, because if he gets discovered by those people, who knows what will happen. However, Randolph simply asks him again what happened in this city. Andrew tells him that the Kaiser mercenaries led by Maxim of the 8 heroes attacked the city. As he knows, the Lord incurred a great debt, especially to Duke Sion. Maxim came as the messenger and successor. He said he'd take the territory if they didn't have the ability to pay back the money, but Hudson said he would pay the debt. However, Maxim still came and began destroying things. The Lord asked what the meaning of their actions was. He said they would pay them back. However, Maxim did not believe the Marquis. The person Duke Sion lent money to was him, not that merchant, so he simply hasn't received the money from him yet. Hudson asks how he could make such an unreasonable claim, and Weiser realizes from the very beginning his goal was to take over the territory, but he'd better get his dirty shoes off that plaque. The thing he's standing on is a monument dedicated to the heroes who gave their lives to protect their families. It's a monument to something that he will never be. Maxim laughs at the monument for heroes and says it's strange. Were there always this many heroes? As far as he knows, outside of them, the 8 heroes, none others exist. Andrew continues telling him that before he even heard about the situation at the relief station, the battle was over, and although the knights and residents all rushed in to fight, they were no match for Maxim and his mercenaries. After that, he heard they avoided a massacre thanks to Hudson. Hudson first offered him money, but Maxim did not need money. But that's not what Hudson meant. Not to the Duke, but to Maxim. Hudson will give him double the principal, so he wants only 30 days. Maxim thought that was rather tempting, but Hudson must have taken him for a fucking fool. He could just take it anyway, so why would he wait? If he does this, he doubts a worthless bastard like him can hold out. As Maxim continues stabbing the back of Hudson's hand, Hudson tells him that he was misunderstanding something. He's a merchant. There are times when he pays money for a deal, that much is true, but he would rather die than just hand over his money. So, just for 30 days, remembering Randolph's words about stalling for time, no one shall lay a finger on anyone, including Serengeti. That is his sole condition for the deal. Now, Andrew wants to know if those people are truly heroes who dedicated themselves to the continent and humanity. Randolph's rage boils, turning into justified wrath. His heart hammers in his chest, and the heart of the iron-blooded monarch, which would keep his feelings at bay, allows this wrath to persist, as this is a matter deserving of a monarch's wrath. So the hidden trait quest, the iron-blooded monarch, officially begins. Outside of the manor, 2 mercenary guards are standing watch, one of them being bored to death, with the other agreeing that at this rate they will be stuck here for a damn entire month because of the captain. What can they do? Orders are orders. Besides, who knows? Maybe they will get a portion of the reward as well. Suddenly they see someone approaching whom they naturally do not recognize as Randolph. They stop him and ask who he is, and the one with the spear notes that he must not be from the city. No local would be crazy enough to wander this close to them. The other guard puts a blade near Randolph's cheek and asks him one more time who he is to be snooping around here. Randolph simply asks where Maxim is, and the guard gets annoyed. He's calling the name of the captain like he's his friend or something. He must have a death wish, doesn't he? However, before he can even see the attack, Randolph puts his own blade into his throat and slits it, making the man fall into a helpless pile. The one with the spear gets ready to strike, clearly horrified, and asks if he has any idea who they are. Randolph does not give a single shit. He asks once more, Maxim, where is he? Upon hearing the commotion outside, the others get informed that they are under attack. The guards have been taken out. The perpetrator is on the first floor, so they all rush towards Randolph, ready to take his life. However, with simple movements, but one so extremely swift that nobody can see him, he begins taking them out one by one using his blade and his fists. He continues doing so until the approaching enemies turn into just a trickle, and until none return, leaving behind only a pile of corpses and regret on the first floor. He begins ascending to the second floor, and walks slowly, languidly, clearly unbothered by the ones that are hiding behind a corner waiting to pounce on him. Once he gets to that corner, one of them tries to hit him with his axe, but Randolph simply cuts his hand off before rushing in on the others and killing them as well. The last one remaining, naturally, is horrified and begs to be spared before calling for the captain. But Randolph simply drives his sword into the back of his neck and takes him out, just as Maxim rushes in on Randolph, who dodges this preemptive strike. Maxim uses that same momentum to swivel his body around and try to hit Randolph in the throat, but Randolph catches him and punts him into the ground roughly before driving his sword into his mouth. It seems that he missed by just a few inches, but it doesn't matter anyway, as the sword did not cut deep enough because of Maxim's hidden trait, the demon worshipper demon heart. This ability not only protects him, but also sends Randolph flying roughly into the ground with an extremely loud thud. Maxim wonders why that Hudson bastard was desperately buying time. He probably had some sort of backup plan, and it seems to have been him. So he is his backup plan, huh? Randolph doesn't even move from his spot and asks what the reason is. If he were just after the money, he could have taken it quietly and left. If he were after the territory, he could have just conquered the land. Why did he massacre and defile the people of this territory? Maxime says there is none. Does he need a reason to cull the weak like this? If he really needs an explanation, he will give him one now. How dare those weaklings place themselves alongside them, the 8 heroes, and build monuments honoring themselves as heroes of some great, dumb, demon world expedition. Randolph warns him not to use the word hero so lightly, especially someone like him who fled at the gates of the demon world. Maxime is shocked that he knows about them. He asks, then realizes that he is Phantom, isn't he? He had a feeling that the newcomer Randolph might be him, so he really did become a player. He thought he would hide somewhere and bide his time while he grows stronger, but to think he would seek him out first. It seems he has grown intoxicated by his own past glory, and this arrogance will be his demise. Before Randolph can react, he rushes to him and smashes his demonic hand into him, noting that he has become too weak to fight against him, and that the price of his incessant arrogance will be his life. Maxim seems to drive his blade into Randolph, but Randolph catches it with his entire hand, asking if he is done talking. He should have really taken the money quietly and left. At the very least, he should not have touched these people. Because of his stupidity, the Kaiser mercenaries end today. Maxim gets a little scared, but then laughs it off. He's acting all big, but is he sure about this? He threw Weiser and the others into a dungeon. Who knows? They might just drop dead before he manages to kill all of them. Randolph tells him that it will not happen because he sent some rather reliable people there to take care of the riffraff. With that, he activates the Star Pierce ability, allowing starlight energy to circulate through his body for 76 seconds, taking off Maxim's entire arm with ease. Randolph tells him that this time he will not have a chance to escape. This will be the end of it. Thank you for watching. See you next time.